A
Stay
tutorial
tuned.
on optimal keybinds, but really the most optimal keybind is to not use keybinds.
Holy
Just
shit.
a click.
Imagine that, dude. Like Guild Wars 2 keybind video, and it just says the biggest myth in Guild Wars 2 is that you should keybind your abilities. You should just skill click.
See, if they wanted you to use keybinds, they would just not have made icons. They wouldn't have made little square tiles. They would have just given you a list of things that said what the skill was, and then they would have just saved all of the UI space for the combat and the stuff. They want you. It's actually correct to skill click because they take the time to make art assets for all of the skills and the tooltips and to make the interface for it. So you're actually disrespecting ArenaNet if you use keybinds by not appreciating the art assets.
That's right, gamers. It's tea time. We're here now. Yeah, now we are here. At long last. Oh, you can still see a bit of Discord because I didn't make the menu go away. Nice. Perfect. Welcome, everyone, to an episode of Tea Time. We have a brand new face here. Zack Face Reveal is here. And, you know, having Zack here, it was a big decision. You know, it only made sense. You know, we're talking about the Elite Specializations, and I don't know about all of you, but I get all of my opinions from listening to the lyrics of his songs that he's making about the Elite Specializations from End of Dragons. So I can only give opinions on the ones that he's actually finished that task for. So we're gonna have to wait a little bit before we can talk about all of them. They haven't all been done yet, but there is that. And yes, FT Zack, what are you talking about? Okay, I don't know what that is. Okay, I don't know what that is, but of course, we still have some scorching hot takes from Nike and Brazil joining us as well. So welcome everyone to the show. We're going to be talking about a lot of topics here because surprisingly a large amount of things happened. The bots are shutting down a little bit, maybe, sort of. Elite Specializations, Siege Turtles, right? All this kind of wild stuff. It's absolute insanity. And I think with that introduction, I almost want to start off on the Siege Turtle, actually. You know, the Siege Turtle is where I want to begin. A little bit of a warm-up topic before we delve into the meat of End of Dragons. You know, the Siege Turtle, the brand new mount coming out, a combat mount, in fact, that requires 2 players. We saw a bit of a gameplay overview of it recently on an ArenaNet live stream, and that then immediately segued into a massive balance patch analysis there, or rather overview from CMC with the full notes for the upcoming beta. So very exciting times indeed in that regard. But the Siege Turtle will also be available to test in the beta too. So we'll see if it's going to increase everyone's DPS in open world. So does anyone want to go and leap in there on the turtle? Like, what do we got in there? Like, you know, let's get some turtles in the chat. What do you guys think? Are you guys excited? Is it high energy or low energy? You tell me.
I think it's pretty low energy, to be honest.
I agree.
Wow.
I think it'll be a fine mount, but like, I'm not excited. Like, I mean, I'll play with it for like, I would say probably 45 seconds to 95 seconds and then go, yep, it's a mount. And then just go back to doing whatever I was doing.
I mean, I guess you need it for some specific stuff in the new maps, but outside of being a DPS increase on world bosses and the ERP, there's not really much of a use for it, except you said that on stream, I think. Like, it's the same mechanic with the tea time set now, where you can teleport with the person you sit, right? So you can sell map completion. And I will be on that. 29 map points.
I'll sell the jumping puzzle, right?
It's big, right? Because you can do it on, you know, on an alt account using a VPN, just teleport, hack around, map complete people, and then they don't get banned. Only you do, right? So it kind of, you know, there it is, right?
And you can play 2 elite specs at the same time, which is very big, very huge value.
I mean, do you think it's the fact that it's a combat mount that makes it a little bit less interesting then? Because, like, you know, in terms of movement, obviously more or less everything has been filled out, and that's why they made this mount such a general thing. You know, the Siege Turtle does a little bit of everything. It can kind of boost a bit like the Sky Scale. It can go pretty fast and accelerate and drift like the Roller Beetle. You know, it can more or less handle any terrain. It can work anywhere. It's an all-terrain vehicle. So they didn't really have anything to go on there because, you know, Sky Scale exists, Beetle exists. Like, the current roster of mounts we have currently is already very expansive and covers a huge amount of ground. So the combat thing is what's going there. And I guess a lot of us maybe are not going to be super engaged from the combat side, because realistically it might perform pretty okay, but I doubt it will be better than actually playing the game, right? You know, like using your regular abilities will still be better than attacking using the turtle. Like the numbers were pretty okay. You know, a lot of AoE, you know, maybe if you're a class that struggles with area of effect damage, the siege turtle could be very, very potent. Maybe if you juice yourself up with boons, it can be very good. But other than that, it is going to be kind of a bit of a, you know, just a fun gimmick rather than something that you're going to maybe use a crazy amount outside of a few specific instances and specific world bosses, I would imagine.
It seems more to be a mount for people that only buy EOD and don't have POF already, right?
Mm.
So that's why it's like a mix of multiple things.
Is that even possible?
Yeah.
Like, you can buy EOD as a standalone and not get the other expansions bundled with it?
Yeah, Path of Fire and Heart of Thorns are bundled, and then EOD is by itself, but they both give you, like, both of those two packages give you the base game. I actually never thought of that. That's a good point.
Yep. Well, and yeah, you can get the mega collection. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think you're completely correct there as well, Zach, because they didn't want to be limited in what they could design for the new maps based off you know, some of the restrictions previously imposed in the game. So if they want to make some like cool thing for mounts to leap around and go everywhere, then they want to make sure that every player will be able to do that. And well, you even see this is what they're doing, right? They're adding the Springer and the Raptor bundled with EOD, actually, right? So even if you don't have Path of Fire, you'll be able to get those two mounts anyway. So it's very clear that they want to not be restrained in how they can design maps, particularly how big they can make maps. I think, you know, one thing in common, the maps we've seen, Xingje, Ekavald, and the Jade Sea, they're all really big, right? They're big maps so far, and they want to make sure that the players are going to be able to navigate around those fairly effectively without feeling too restrained. And of course, because of how good the mounts are currently in the game for movement, stuff like Griffin, Skyscale, right, you know, Raptor, right, Jackal, right, all this stuff, they need to make sure that the maps are actually able to handle those without feeling kind of small. And that's why, you know, they've had to kind of bundle all these things together there too. But I don't know. I think the Siege Turtle has a bit of potential. Looked like a pretty fun mount to use. I think they actually mentioned this on the stream. They are looking to incorporate it into certain encounters. I think you might see like Siege Turtles, you know, needed to like break down walls and events. Maybe, you know, fight, you know, break a shell on a boss and you have to fire the cannons at them or something like that. So there might be a bit of, I guess, semi-forced integration into combat there, because that is the gimmick. It's a combat mount compared to the non-combat mounts previously. So I don't know. I think there's a little bit of potential. I mean, I'm feeling a little more hopeful. You know, I think it's, you know, it's medium energy. It's not a resident sleeper. It's at least medium energy there, I think, for the Siege Turtle.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's cool. I really like green. I really like all the jade. Come at me if you think the jade color is bad, but I think it's cool. It looks fun. It looks like it's really well thought out and really well designed. It looks like they put a lot of effort into it. And I think for just a casual gaming enjoyer, riding around with a friend or whatever, or going on e-dates, like, hell yeah, it'll be awesome. I think it'll be really cool for that.
Yeah.
Why not?
I definitely want to kind of touch upon what Zach mentioned earlier, because I know it's a bit of a meme talking about selling map completion and doing that, but I think that's actually a genuinely brilliant feature. There's something that I do actually come across a fair bit in open world, is that people who are new to the game won't have waypoints unlocked, and this actually allows you to circumvent that pretty nicely, because you can actually ferry your friends. So I suppose you've got a new player friend who's coming into the game. Well, all of a sudden, it doesn't really matter if they don't have map completion, because you can actually just teleport around very, very quickly. And you might say, well, you can't teleport map to map, right? But what you can do is you can teleport from the start of a map all the way to the end of the map and just kind of like, you know, piggyback all the way through the map the entire way. So you'll be able to get anywhere with your friend very effectively. It won't quite work if they can't access the map directly. So, you know, you can't take them to Living World unless they've got a waypoint there. But I think it's actually a really neat feature that you can do that. And I'm going to be very curious to see this, because this will happen. You know, Zach's of course completely right here. There will be map completion selling. You will actually be able to sell map completion now because of this, and I would be very surprised if that didn't happen, because it is a pretty arduous task, and of course it's very important for legendaries, and there are going to be brand new legendaries coming out. Yeah, map completion is about to kick in. I guess vistas are a problem. You won't be able to go fully AFK. You'll have to like get the vistas yourself, but everything else will actually be doable entirely from, you know, relaxing, just AFKing while someone else runs around the map for you, which is quite funny, I think.
I mean, if it doesn't disable your mount on a specific vista, you can just do the jumping puzzle or whatever you need to get there with the turtle, right?
You can definitely get there, but I think you get dismounted though, right, on a vista? Or can you use them on mounts?
Not on all. Or I think most of them you can use mounts for, right?
Oh no, I mean, but to actually interact with it, right? Because you have to actually press F on the vista, right? So you can be taken around to a POI,
and you can't be fully AFK.
Yeah. You have to be like semi AFK. Yeah. You got to go on the nice safari tour there with your friends there for the siege turtle. Yeah.
There's probably a third-party way to interact with it without being dismounted.
Yeah, well, that's not allowed though, Brazil. Okay,
well, yeah, there's no more third-party in Guild Wars 2 anymore.
That's true. Well, not quite true. And we can talk about that. We'll talk about that next. To get a little bit of an omen of what's to come, but just to kind of round off the siege turtle topic, I guess. What do you guys think about it in World versus World? Yes or no?
Yes.
Hell might be too powerful because you can like Zerg bust since it has so much AoE. Could be pretty good if you had like a bunch of siege turtles just AoE ass blasting a Zerg of enemies.
Well, they just give the Warclaw something that's anti-siege turtle.
I'm sure the World v World enjoyers would hate it, which means it has to happen.
Yeah.
Because every change that ArenaNet does, they hate. So
the way I could see it is if it was like a very slow trebuchet. So a bit more like Guild Wars 1, actually, right? Like in Guild Wars 1, when you would encounter siege turtles, they were very slow moving and they would kind of fire artillery shells, right, at a very, very long range. And that could be a potentially interesting way of doing it. If it was for siege, not for direct combat, I could see it being an asset, like a new type of thing. And it kind of, you got to, imagine it's like this wall of turtles, right? Like moving towards your tier 3 keep, like firing off shots, breaking down the walls. I could see that being good. Yeah, you could use supply for ammunition to fire. It could require supply to build it. It could be very slow, very immobile, right? And, can't really fight. A minimum range as well. So, you can't fire on people who are nearby. So you can kind of rush it and it becomes completely useless. That sort of thing, I can see actually there's potential there that it could be an interesting asset to the World versus World siege thing there, but you'd have to really strip it down. You wouldn't be able to use the boosters because I don't know if you guys know this, but you don't even have to use third-party software to break into keeps. You can just use the Warclaw a lot of the time because it's the dismount skill is a bit weird. You can climb over the gates pretty well with the Warclaw sometimes. Not ideal in that regard there too, but yeah, I don't know. I think it could happen, but yeah, there you go.
I mean, they could just disable the boost on enemy terrain, like with gliding, right?
That's true. Yeah, I think though that the mounts. I think someone told me this, but I'm not sure how true this is. That they can't change the functionality of mounts, so it would kind of have to have the same abilities in some way, but they'd have to be split. So yeah, you might have to go in that direction where you say, yeah, the boost only works in your own territory. That would be a good way to go about doing it for sure. Yeah. And I think they can change the movement speed, right? Because the Warclaw has a mastery that changes its movement speed. And mastery system in general is completely different in World versus World. So I think there's some potential for balancing it there. And I don't know, as much as I'm not a huge fan of mounts in World versus World, I think it could be an interesting way to kind of have like, here's an extra thing for World versus World with the expansion, right? Alliances, siege turtle, right? We're adding features to the game mode, and I think it could be, I don't know, it could be pretty cool. It could be pretty cool to, to have that there as well, I think. But it would have to be handled extremely careful, like very, very carefully, because mounts and just adding extra mechanics to World versus World, it's very risky. You can end up alienating the player base and also making the game mode worse, right? Which are two things, not a good idea.
That's what we want to happen.
That's what you want to happen, okay? Well, actually, no, not even you want that.
Yeah, exactly. I like World versus World.
Yeah, I tuned into your stream recently, and what do I see? Roaming. I see engineer roaming, I believe. Scrapper roaming, in fact.
Scrapper roaming.
Boon Lord Scrapper roaming. It's like grenade barraging people. It's good.
Did you have underwater targeted grenades on land?
No, my software doesn't have that ability.
Not too bad.
It just lets me run very fast.
I mean, how do you prevent having 50 turtles up at once? Well, in the same way that you prevent having 50 siege golems up at once. One, you would make it so it's not a good idea to do that, right? For example, if your entire squad was in a siege golem, it's not a very good idea. In World War, you're not going to be able to win fights very effectively with that. And it would also be unbelievably expensive and very, very slow, right? I think ArenaNet, they did a good job with the siege golems and the way the golems work, because they are very, very slow. They don't really have particularly great combat abilities. And of course, they're vulnerable to being disabled too, with siege disabled. So I don't think it's completely inconceivable that you could add a similar mechanism to the siege turtle such that it could be balanced in that way. Right. No, I think it wouldn't necessarily be a button. I think you could make it cost supply. You could make it be buildable. Right. For example, instead, it could actually be an external thing. Because, I mean, who says they have to add it as an actual mount? Right. They could very easily add it as a vehicle that you could get into, like the char car. Right. Or like like a siege golem. So, because, I mean, those systems are quite similar. Right. Like the difference is that a mount gets summoned immediately. The other one you have to kind of press F with. But they already have stuff like this in the open world. You can buy a raptor, right? You can hire a raptor with an NPC. So you take a similar architecture there. So you have to interact with an NPC, pay some supply, and then boom, you get your turtle, right? And that's the approach that I think they would have to go. But like, it's going to happen. Like, it's not going to happen for sure. But it is going to happen for sure. They're going to test it, right? They're going to test it at least, right? If it's horrible, it doesn't work, then they won't put it in the game. But I'd be very surprised if they didn't at least have a go and see what happened with the siege turtle in World vs. World. And in a way, I think that would alleviate, because the immediate response that from our hosts here was a bit was a somewhat like it's kind of low energy, not the highest energy thing. I think World vs. World, bizarrely enough, could be a place where it could be made a more interesting feature, right? A more interesting feature there as well. As a long-range siege warfare weapon, a mobile trebuchet, but it's a turtle. Let's go. I gotta hear all the World vs. World purists just like screaming right now. They're in like horrible pain as we talk about this.
I mean, they could just try it for a week and see how it goes, right?
They can't do that. No downstate already ruins them. The World vs. World players, like pure World vs. World players, don't want to try. They don't actually want their experience to improve. They just want to do the same thing over and over and complain about how it's bad and how ArenaNet hates them. That's the pure World versus that's the pure World versus World player experience. That's the mindset you have to adopt.
Well, there certainly is a little bit of resistance to change. Allow me to pause that a little bit there for you. There is some resistance to change there as well, but it's not entirely unfounded. There have been a lot of changes to World versus World that have not really made the game mode better. I think stuff like the Warclaw, gliding, emergency tactics like waypoints and invulnerable fortifications, changes to siege, the way sieges worked. These things have not had a particularly positive impact on a lot of the really dedicated veteran World versus World players over time. So I think it's not surprising and definitely understandable that there's a little bit of trepidation around adding any kind of new feature to a game mode that has already, it's borne the brunt of a fair few features that have not helped with the game mode. Let's put it like that, putting it politely. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they're going to do there. But I think it's worth trying, right? Like it's worth having a go to see if it can be an interesting mechanic, because it's always nice to kind of spice things up a little bit there. But yeah, I mean, ArenaNet aren't going to be testing it early on in End of Dragons, because as they say, it would maybe be a little bit too much to unleash 9 new elite specializations and then also release a potentially game-changing mount at the same time, and World vs. World alliances too. Maybe a little much. There you go. Siege Turtle Gaming, I guess. Now, moving on. And I think Nike, you had some hot takes on this. The bots. Let's just get this done. Let's get this out of the way here. Just give us an introduction of what's happened, and your take on it. Because look, I'm gonna leak this ahead of time, guys. Like, prepare for a little bit of spice, right? Okay, get your spice gauntlets on, because Nike me Unchained. But yeah, take it away. Tell us about the bots.
So there's a third, as I understand it, there was a company that makes hacks for games or bots for games. And they, for basically every major MMO, they will sell you bot or hacking tools. And they decided that it was uneconomical to continue the Guild Wars 2 tool development because they probably only had like 10 subs that were paying their monthly bot fee. And so once that happened, it was a big meme because they're redirecting their resources to Final Fantasy, which is like it's like compounding the meme that already existed. But the funny part is, I think they're giving, like, after a week, or they're letting you continue to bot in Guild Wars 2 with their current client for a week, but then that's getting disabled. So there'll be no more, or there'll be mostly no more PvP bots until people make like really lame auto hotkey ones. But the thing that's interesting about that to me is that bots were like this firewall that prevented silver players from being matched up with legend players in ranked. And it was like this, like, it was like these like warm bodies that like they would throw at the silver players to keep the silver players like in their comfy frogman zone where like they could only complain. Like, their biggest complaint was that the biggest silver player complaint is that they were in a game with bots. Like, that's what makes them mad. But what will end up happening is they're going to get dumped by Syndroner and other legend tier players, and they're going to then complain about that the matchmaking is bad. And it's going to be sort of like, well, you got your wish, a monkey paw situation where you wished for bots to be removed from PvP, and the unintended consequence of that is now you're in games with legend players and you're getting destroyed, and no one's having fun because it's not fun for the legend players either to be matched up with like silver tier people.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate assessment. Unfortunately, I think it will probably lead to a slight decline in the quality of the matchmaking. I mean, we don't know exactly how many bots there were in the game. I don't think it was actually that many. To be honest,
I think in PvP, it was probably like on EU at most 20.
Yeah,
but
like
that was enough to
bolster it, right?
Yeah, to keep the silver content pure in silver.
And it was probably a good amount, but not like a majority of the player base. And it's the same on NA, right? There were quite a lot on NA. But again, the reason you see them more on NA is because they're more visible on NA, because in general, the player base is lower. And it's funny, right? Like, the way that these bots even kind of came to the forefront of discussion, there probably wasn't really an increase in the amount of people running bots in Guild Wars 2. It's just that before the player base started to decline in PvP, the bots just played against each other. Like, no joke. I look, I'm not joking here. I imagine that a lot of the games in kind of bronze and silver were literally bots playing against each other. And other, like very, very new players who wouldn't really be able to tell. And the only reason why bots kind of became this super hot topic was because the player base declined in kind of like the gold to plat range, and this caused the bots to essentially raise themselves up in rating and start to permeate the upper areas of the game, right? And then you started seeing all these, and honestly, minion mons are becoming pretty good is also another big part.
Bots rise up.
Yeah, because the bots would just start rising up with minion monsters going crazy, right? And just like, and the thing is that the bots would actually beat players. Like, this is another slight misconception that people have. I think one of the reasons why people get frustrated by the bots is because they lose to them. The bots are surprisingly effective when it comes to PvP, because what they do is they play aggressively. Very aggressively, because they don't really have the ability to be tactical. So the way a bot will attack you is it will just use all of its skills on you basically at the same time and just kind of hope that you die. Now, it turns out that works really well against people who are relatively new to the game, particularly if you're playing a build something like Minion Mancer. So the bots were, you know, they suddenly became really overpowered because they could start farming people with Minion Mancer. And also the population went down, so the games get skewed, right? The bots were also using hacks at the same time, so they'd be like teleporting around, right? Like decapping the map and stuff like that. It was a bit of a clown fiesta, right? I mean, I do have to say, I'm glad that the bots are gone because it is a really bad look. It was definitely driving people away from PvP, just because of, you know, it's like, whoa, you know, the game is full of bots and it's not doing anything about it. Right? That's not looking good. But you know, I do think that it will be interesting to see like if the matchmaking gets significantly worse over time. I guess if it gets a lot worse, then there were a shit ton of bots in the game and it was an actual infestation. If it stays the same, then there probably weren't that many bots and it didn't really make that much of a difference, I guess. But yeah.
ArenaNet should have hired the bot guys and made that as a tutorial, because with like Counter-Strike or whatever, you like when you first start playing, you just play against the AI, right, to kind of get a feel of the game. You could do that in Guild Wars 2, right? And you like with difficulty settings have like the easy AI to learn Conquest. Just embrace the bots.
Well, new players can't even beat Big Nose Ted.
Okay,
so we've got a problem.
This is such an interesting point here, Zach, with the 5-head play, because I know that people don't like playing against bots, okay? And that's fair, right? You know, you want to play against other players and player versus player. But without a doubt, the ranked PvP experience would be better if you added like 1,000 bots that played at Silver 1, Silver 2, Silver 3, Gold 1, Gold 2, Gold 3. Because the real problem with PvP is the fact that there aren't enough players playing at any given time at a certain skill level to create good games consistently. This is particularly true on NA. You know, you see this all the time, right? You'll see players who are literally rank 1 and rank 2 on NA, top of the leaderboard. They will queue into a low gold game, right? That is a dog shit game, and it doesn't matter if the players in gold are bots or not, right? That's a horrible game, like no questions asked. That's never going to be fun for anyone. So weirdly enough, if you did add a bunch of bots, yeah, match quality would improve. Because here's the really tough pill to swallow for everyone in the game right now, guys. Like, if you see a bot, right, in Gold 3, and that bot is rated at Gold 3, then that bot is the same as a Gold 3 player in terms of its skill level, right? There's not a very big fundamental difference between playing, against a bot and playing against a player, really. The only difference is that the player is much more likely to flame you, right? And then AFK. At least the bot won't AFK. I don't know. They should never do that. Like, we're kind of trolling here a little bit. Like,
I have a better solution. That's a super hot take for how to fix PvP now.
Go.
Get ready for that.
Do it.
Oh, no.
Do it.
So we eliminate ranked. There is no more ranked.
Ooh.
And that's gone. And you just have two sort of PvP modes. Random Arena, which is what Hot Join or Unranked currently is, right? So you have Unranked, which becomes Random Arena. And then you have ATs, which becomes Team Arena. And you have... basically, if you can keep the ranked leaderboard or not, I don't care. But the only games that count towards your rating are tournament games. And you have the primetime AT is worth like double the ELO rating of the off-hour ATs. So you're very much, if you want to move up the leaderboard, encouraged to do the primetime one to ensure lots of competition. And then after monthly, you also have a seasonal tournament that the monthly feeds into, where you get qualifying points in the monthlies that leads into like a seasonal tournament, which has like a mega high elo. And then that's how you determine who the king of PvP is on the leaderboard each season.
Would you
There
be
about to
adding
some big time sellers?
Yeah. Would you add a group finder tool, like an auto, like queue for an AT, so you could like queue up and it would match make you automatically for that? Because
I mean, you could. I don't think they would, but I think it would mostly be
because I think the problem right now is that tournament play, automated tournament play, struggles a lot from the same problem. You're going to have loads of teams you're going to have a bunch of teams that aren't super good and kind of battle each other. And you're going to have like 3 or 4 teams that just absolutely demolish everyone. Completely, like, annihilate people. There's not really a lot of that middle ground. So if you want to do that, you'd almost have to make it so that, like every 3 hours, everyone can sign up for the AT. And if you can join as a group, right, if you want to, but you can also just sign up and it will auto matchmake you for like a random team. Because I mean,
especially if it like auto matched you with people at your own rating. Like if you're gold 3 and it put you on a team of just all gold 3 players, or as close as it can get.
I'm not sure about the removal of
ranked is a meme. If I asked you before giving you this idea, is ranked a worthless meme? You'd say yes. It's pointless. It's nothing but like sellers.
Well, people need an outlet for their anger, and it gives them
then go into Hotjoin or unranked and like troll. If that's
what do you mean when you say ranked is a meme? Exactly.
Well, because like you have like, I don't know how prevalent it is anymore, but there was like the whole like match fixing and and selling the spots and win trading and all of that. Like people don't care about the ranked leaderboard as a result of that. I don't think people are like super hyped about that because they don't feel that it measures anything besides.
Well, it does though, right? And you know what? Win trading definitely makes a few things less legitimate. It makes the scene less legitimate, but it doesn't delegitimize rating, right? It doesn't matter if someone's win trading rank 1 or not. The good players will still end up towards the high end of the leaderboard. It absolutely measures.
For sure.
Something.
I'm not saying it like isn't skill testing. Like there is still the skill element to it, but
yeah, it's just the perception is that it was pointless all along.
Well, yeah, I just think that, okay, again, I really have to go hard on this because I think this is definitely an opinion that a lot of people have about PvP, but I think it is absolutely an insanely illogical thing to believe, right? It's insanity. Like saying that because like there's a bit of corruption involved in the system, that everything the system can do is completely worthless, like to me is actually insane. I don't think we would apply that standard to anything else.
We definitely wouldn't apply that to our governing bodies and let our opinions, our political opinions, run free with that, would we? No, we would never do that.
I mean, seriously though, like, I do agree that it is a horrible thing for the perception, but I think the reason that people perceive it so badly is because they haven't thought it through. Like, ranked does absolutely measure your skill. If you are a good player, your rating will increase. If you are a bad player, your rating will stay low. That is the reality of the situation. There have been a few instances of win trading, nowhere near as much as people think, for sure. A lot of it is just people kind of abusing the system, but not breaking TOS by like Q dodging each other. But that is kind of hard to get around without adding more people, right? Just like adding more people is the way to go if you want to get rid of that so people just can't Q dodge each other. The only reason why people can break the system is because there are a sufficiently low amount of players that if you queue at a certain time, the games will be way easier. And if you add everyone to your friends list, you can actually avoid getting in games with everyone whatsoever. But you can't actually fix that without adding more people. And yeah, like just because it is a bit scuffed and it's not perfect, it's not a perfect measure of skill, doesn't mean it's a completely useless measure of skill. But I think it would be interesting to see what would happen if you added like a auto group maker for automated tournaments. Actually, that will be interesting because you know what you could. Oh my god, do you know what it could do? It could actually pick players of like similar rating and put them in the same group as well. Holy shit. That would be so toxic, but also like it would be like a big expose because all the people who think they're really good will probably get matched up with players of their actual skill level, right? And kind of get a bit of a meme, right? A bit of an expose right there.
I mean, maybe I'm biased. I just think that tournament play is the actual competitive game mode. Like, yes, like ranked it's hard to win, and in theory, once you're at your correct rating, like you have a 50-50 win rate, right? Like, so there is, like, it is. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm also saying that obviously automated tournaments or even like community tournaments, that is the ultimate competitive outlet. And like, I don't know that ArenaNet has the bandwidth or the player base to support like this ultimate competitive outlet of tournaments, but also this like semi-competitive outlet of ranked. Like, I think it might just be dividing the player base, like one tier too many.
I think ranked is useful because it lets people that are bad think that they're good, and it gives them like a little bit of the ego feed whenever they, like they win that game. I think it's useful to have ranked, but I think I agree with you. I don't think ranked proves any kind of skill one way or another, because your rank can increase just by getting carried and getting good RNG. But I don't know. I think I like where you're going. I think ranked is just kind of a meme troll farm. It's infuriating to play in a lot of the time.
I agree that ranked isn't perfectly competitive, and I also agree with you. I don't think ranked is true competition. Any random teams in a team game is inherently non-competitive. I agree with that. But I think the problem is that ATs or tournament play is less competitive than that for most players because they're going to match into teams that are much better than them, and they're going to get deleted. There isn't enough granularity in the skill kind of like skill curve in tournament play to make it super appealing for a lot of players in the game to get into that competitive setting. So I think ranked kind of has to serve its purpose until the population grows. The Swiss system is, the Swiss system is, so Swiss tournaments, guys, mean that you always play at least 3 games, right, before getting eliminated. But here's the problem with this. This actually made automated tournaments less rewarding for new players, because unfortunately, when you queue as a new player into a tournament, you're probably going to maybe win 1 game if you're lucky, and you're stuck in 2 losses that don't progress your ranked reward chest and basically give you nothing, right? And you have, I guess you could decline, I guess, if you want to, right? But you obviously want to try and win, right? You want to try and win, but you're just going to get absolutely smashed a lot of the time. And this is a big problem. I think I would be very much inclined to agree with Nike under the assumption that we permanently ban every player higher rated than Platinum 1 in the game. If we did that, then I think that probably would make the game a more interesting, more competitive place. But I think we would have to like behead the entire PvP community. Great example is, I don't know if you guys saw the recent monthly automated tournament, but like the ultimate gatekeep team has formed. And obviously, look, they can do this. There's nothing wrong with them doing this, right? They're really good at the game. They're playing together. They're having fun. It's their absolute right to do that. I'm not calling them out here. But there's a team of Zan, Misha, Frey, Draza, right? And Boyce. It's like the ultimate team. And they basically 500-0'd the finals into another really, really good team. Like, their opponents were all legendary rated players. And this team 500-0'd them, more or less, right? Completely obliterated them. As long as players like this exist in the game, like, tournaments are just a meme. I mean, like,
there's only one strategy to beat them. Send some e-girls in to start some drama. Break the team up. That's the solution.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah. Miaz and e-girls will solve it. Don't worry. It'll work itself out in time.
And with EOD, with the turtle and with the tether from Spectre, you have all the tools you need for
That's
the
true.
e-girls. Yeah.
That is true. There's a lot going on there. But yeah, I mean, PvP is in a really tough spot. I think a really, really difficult spot with the way it's going. And I really hope that players look at it in a more positive light now that the bots will hopefully subside, and I generally hope there won't be too much of a consequence there. Funnily enough, though, people always
luckily all the people that were blaming their losses on bots will now take a sober look at their own skills.
Oh yeah,
and they will have to put their delusions aside and take an honest look at their own performance now that they can't blame it on bots.
No, they'll blame it on lag.
One, fully expect that to happen.
Oh dear.
They'll blame it on balance. They'll blame it on lag. They'll find anything to keep the delusion alive.
I mean, that's not unique to Guild Wars 2 players. I've heard that's every ranked competitive game, right? You know, there are people who are like, oh, dude, I'm in like Iron League and League of Legends, but dude, you know, if it wasn't for my team, I'd be Challenger. Definitely, I'd be Challenger, guys. Believe me. But yeah, that's just the nature of it. Like, people would rather blame something else rather than look at their own miserable incompetence at the game. But you know, the thing that doesn't get mentioned a lot, because I guess it's a bit less noticeable and under the radar, it's actually the PvE bots. Okay. I feel like there's
they literally are under the radar.
Yeah, they're under the map. Yeah. But well, actually, you know what, Brazil, you know a little bit about this. Actually, tell us about the PvE bots. Okay, give us some details here.
So if you ever want to see something, well, I mean, you don't have much time to see this anymore, so you're gonna have to really get on this if you want to check it out. But you can go into a dragon stand just basically like halfway through the map or after the meta's done or whatever, and you can just go sit at a waypoint and you'll see names pop up on the ground and they'll be there for like 5 seconds and they'll disappear. You'll see people fly through the air occasionally. You'll just see characters just kind of like doing like this through the air. They'll go flying across. You'll see all kinds of weird stuff, and it's just basically like botters fly hacking over terrain and also like teleporting to nodes under the map, because you can grab like all of the node IDs and stuff, and you can just have a script that boop, 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 and
what's
it just
the point of Dragon Stand? Why Dragon Stand specifically?
they just do it for completion, like for something. I don't know if it gives you like
they nerfed that. They did fix that one actually. Funnily enough, it doesn't give a key anymore. Or
yeah,
they were farming it for Blackline keys, right? It would give you a key sometimes for completing it, but they removed it from the table. And it was Dragon's Den specifically because it has only channels, right? So no combat, no combat hero points. You can just teleport and channel them. So it was like really, really fast to do it, and very easy for a bot to do it as well, solo, right? Which is why it was Dragon's Den. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah, that's more or less it. Like you can just go and see it happening. It's a very strange experience the first time you ever see it, and stuff like this happens because, as far as I'm aware, like either there is no. This is gonna be very curious to see how it plays out, because as far as I'm aware, the reason why stuff like this is allowed and like fly hacking and cheating and stuff like that is not exclusive to bots. You can have that stuff without having bots, and you can have bots that fly hack and speed hack and shit. But I don't know that there's really any kind of detection built into place after mounts that prevent it from happening. Like, I don't like, because the way that it works, like, and you can watch this with people that have legendaries, the footfalls. When you waypoint, you basically just move really fast. Or if you shadow step or you teleport, like you through a mesmer portal, like you're just moving really fast. You're just running from like point A to point B. It just zaps you there. And so
you just have to stay under the golden ratio of 2960.
Yeah, right.
And you won't get detected.
Well, yeah, but there are things in place for like some instant stuff, like the jumping puzzles for sure. Like we have evidence of that. But as far as open world, like I've told this story a lot, but like I have a friend that map completed all of Path of Fire in like 9 minutes the day the game launched. Like the day the expansion launched. Like they just had to grab the IDs for shit, and then he's just like, well, the game's done. Like I finished the whole expansion. It's like he still plays, like he still sells gold, he still does all this shit. Like his account's fine. But I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens, because I don't know. I'm not exaggerating. Like, it's fine, but whatever.
I mean, you probably won't get banned. Don't get reported, right?
Well, I don't think reporting does anything either. Like, I don't think the report system works. I don't think that there's any kind of like automated detection. It's because this stuff has been around for so long. And I think that actually just like hearing that it's not profitable to do that, that's kind of funny. And maybe that'll actually just help. Maybe that's the best way to resolve it all. It's just the botters leaving for Final Fantasy. I don't know.
The message from the dev really fascinates me, because on one hand, I actually believe it. But on the other hand, I really don't. Because so again, for clarity here, that Brazil is exactly right here. The reason it was given was that it's no longer profitable. So, and particularly because they want to focus all their resources on Endwalker, the Final Fantasy expansion, which will definitely be big. But there will also be a Guild Wars 2 expansion coming out, and Guild Wars 2 is also like a very grindy, very gold-oriented farmy game. So it's like, I can't believe people wouldn't actually want to bot Guild Wars 2 because, it's kind of an easy game to get away with, I guess, because you don't get banned very often by doing this stuff. But I don't know, it really makes me think. Like, I think there are things drawing me to either side of the argument. Because on the one hand, I actually checked this on the internet yesterday. ArenaNet's gem store and buying gold with gems is actually insanely good at deterring bots and RMT, I think. Because I checked the prices. I went to an illegal website, guys. And it turns out that you only save $20 or so by buying a legendary from a third party, right? Who would ever do that?
No, that's not even remotely true. Like, what? Not even close.
Wait, you don't think so? Like,
no, you can buy...
on this website.
No. I don't know what site you're using, but like you can buy a legendary for like $100.
Yeah, and you can buy a legendary's worth of gold for like $100.
Yeah, $100.
Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
How much? No. Like if I was just gonna buy a legendary outright with gold, like on the trading post.
Yeah. It would cost you $100.
It's like 4,000 gold, right? Or not even. It's like
4,000
gold for eternity.
Yeah, wait, is it seriously?
Yeah, it will cost you about $100. Yeah, for a legendary in Guild Wars 2 right now. Yeah,
I'm gonna swipe now.
Wow.
Yeah, and again,
okay, I might have to go swipe, but yeah, like so This was, anyways. This is maybe my data is just really old, but shit, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna have full legendaries pretty soon, boys.
So that's a pretty good deterrent there. But on the other hand, I don't know, a lot of people probably break the rules because they can get away with it. It really makes me think, guys, and maybe this is copium, okay? Listen, this might be a little bit of copium here, so look, get your copiums ready in the chat. But I wonder if ArenaNet actually is doing something, okay? If they're changing the systems, right? If they're reworking the game, and there's actually something going on that is deterring people from botting. Maybe a few people are starting to get banned, right? Because why would we ever hear about it, right? We would never hear about the bots getting banned because, like, who's going to say, oh yeah, I botted for 1,000 hours and I got banned, right? Like, that's not going to get upvoted on Reddit. Actually, it would get upvoted, but people would just laugh at you, right? So it almost seems that ArenaNet actually did something. Because bear in mind, about a year ago, they actually said that they were looking into it, right? About third-party software, about hacking, botting. So if we actually see a downswing of hackers as well, it almost would suggest to me that ArenaNet has done something a little bit behind the scenes. I think maybe someone with tech knowledge or kind of understanding of like the way Guild Wars 2 works could maybe actually, locate something in the game, little data mine perhaps to identify something's changed. Because as you said, like just to bring up the meme, because honestly, we can't talk about hacking without bringing up the meme here. I think I should just let Zach tell the story. Zach, tell us the story of the Winter's Day jumping puzzle.
It wasn't like the Winter's Day jumping puzzle was just the downfall. That's what, like, most people don't know the actual story because I always lied about it. But like I did it for a few weeks back then, and I first started just doing Heart of Thorns map completion because I was just too lazy to do it and I wanted to make legendaries. And that went fine because I just did the same shit as the bots do now, with like porting under the map so nobody can report me. And then, like, the thing, like, I didn't really need anything or was like, oh shit, I got a bot because I'm like too bad at the game or anything. I was just curious, and there were like lists and like specific like waypoint lists on that specific forum with like the coordinates, and I was just like testing.
We're not supposed to name like names.
No names.
So I like the main thing I did was just trying shit out and like memeing around, and I didn't really think much of it, and I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't really profiting off it. I was just having fun and not thinking about it, basically. But then I started hacking in the Winter's Day jumping puzzle with other people there. And like my assumption is that like just mass reported me, and that was my misstep there.
Well, I think they do actually have checks for stuff in place for that. Like I think they do actually have like little zones and like quadrants that like if you move through them at a rate that's too fast, they'll like investigate you. Or like if you do it consistently too much, like they might just automatically ban you. I don't know, but yeah, like if reporting does anything and you just got mass reported, yeah, but potentially. But I don't know. This
is just a great tea time because I believe everyone here has at some point, not currently because we're all very well behaved now, has used third-party hack tools.
Not me.
Except Nike. There you go. Not even a little inspect option. Yeah.
I think I feel there's a very big difference between seeing things and doing things.
That's true.
I mean, do you prefer to watch or do you prefer to participate? That's the big thing.
I like to do both at the same time.
Well, there is that, but
and I like people to watch me.
Well, in any event.
Well, I don't know. What do you get?
I
just want to got to hit that topic there. Do you guys think ArenaNet did something, or do you think it's just like Guild Wars 2 is actually just not worth botting anymore?
If Guild Wars 2 did anything, it was find out who these people are and send them like a strongly worded legal letter.
Yeah.
If anything, that's what they did. I don't see that.
That's plausible.
I don't know what country it's based out of, but like. It's really not worth their time to sue people, but they can still at least like
don't do
they
that.
Can C and D you. They can C and D you. They can say, "Hey, look."
Yeah,
and
cease and desist means nothing if you don't believe they'll actually follow through with it.
Yeah, you just frame it and put it on your wall with all the other ones, right?
Yeah. But then again, you never know. Like you always hear, like you're like, oh, the guys running these torrent sites are probably like in some like Eastern European bunker, far like where the eye can't see, like like you think that they're like these like Russian spies hiding out in like the mountains of Bulgaria, like running these torrent sites. But then you find out it's like some like British teenager like live in his mom's house, like running these like fucking torrent sites. And they when they bust them, they're like arresting some like 16-year-old kid, and in a country where he could easily be sued. Like, so who knows? Maybe these guys running this hack bot were like, like Americans or like in like some Western EU country where they could very easily be sued by ArenaNet. You never really. You always think like people running criminal operations are way smarter because you're like, well. They haven't been caught yet, so they must be like one step ahead of the law. But no, it just turns out the law is slow. But then they're not one step ahead. They're like just kind of idiots waiting to be caught.
Yeah, there's a bit of precedent with this, right? Like the two cases I can think of is like the Twitch viewbot stuff. Like Twitch like sued the fuck out of all of them. But the problem is I think they got rid of a lot of the ones because some of them were foolish enough to be actually in the US. But like the ones that are not based in the US is like really annoying for Twitch to chase down. Like WoW did the same thing, or the Blizzard did the same thing with all the private servers, right? Because it turns out that the private servers actually were quite popular, Nostalrius in particular. But yeah, Blizzard bopped all of those as well because they were stealing their subs and made their own version of the game. So it's not completely inconceivable, but as you say, it's difficult because they might not be able to actually get rid of them, and even if they do, would it even be worth it? Because like the bots are definitely annoying. No, actually, no, it would be worth it. No, I'm arguing myself now, but it would definitely be worth it because even if the bots aren't a big deal, the perception is that they're a huge deal, right? And honestly, that's more important than the facts, right? Okay, we're living in 2021. People's perceptions and optics is unironically more important than factual information a lot of the time, and it's definitely true of botting and hacking. There aren't that many hackers in PvP, and there probably aren't a ludicrous amount of bots, unless you're talking about like bots in bronze playing against each other, maybe, or some shit, right? There may be like there's like a bot pit right at the bottom of the leaderboard, but it doesn't matter because players perceive it to be a big issue. So it's a really good thing they got rid of the bots just to fix that, because You got to keep people happy. People aren't going to go anywhere near PvP if everyone says it's like infested with hacks and botters, right? And ArenaNet don't give a shit, right? So there you go. That's it. Boom. Hopefully they're gone, mostly, until someone else tries.
Do you get more gold for winning higher rated games, or is it the same for like legend and bronze players? What they like the gold per hour?
You get more pips for being higher rated. But if games go faster and you can squeeze more games in with lower queue times, you'll get more rewards. It's probably less rewarding to be a higher rated player because your queue times will be so long. Okay. If you're in like decent plat rating, you'll probably have like a 5-minute plus queue most of the time, and that is going to eat your gold per hour, right? Like compared to queue times in, let's say, kind of lower gold are actually quite quick. They're usually like 30 seconds compared to 5 minutes plus, sometimes over, right? Like you can, I've seen 10-minute. I'm not like giga high rating. I'm like kind of in the plat 3 region, and when I queue, I've seen an 11-minute queue, right? And that's like a full game. Like you've been queuing for the length of a game at that point. So yeah, it devours your gold per hour, unfortunately. So that's another issue, right? Because it means that the bots kind of don't care about being low rated because one, they're hard to detect there, and also they don't really get lower income for being low rating too. Yeah, I guess that kind of rounds out the botting topic. Anyone have any final comments on the bot downfall? Any last minute bonus memes?
It'll be curious to see what happens to the economy and if people like want the bots back.
Maybe Orichalcum will become worth more than Mithril again.
That is a worthwhile point to talk about just before we move on to Elite Spec. Yeah. Do you guys think that there are enough bots in PvE that the market will be affected by this?
I think the way that works is that like most of the botters are probably people with alt accounts that just bot on alts all day long. I don't think that there are a lot of botters. I think that there are a couple of botters with a lot of accounts, if that makes sense. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. But we have the onion farm now, so if we need more gold, we can just do that. We've got a great tutorial.
Yeah.
I actually did that yesterday in Gandaren Fields. I followed the guide.
Did you get the onion that Nike missed in the video? Because he missed an onion. Did you remember to get
that onion is random spawn. It could have been a tap root when he went back.
Well, it's interesting because on the one hand, we saw how resilient the market can be, right? Because recently a gamer, the Teeth Knot guy, right? Like this is something that happened recently. There was a guy basically got $45,000 worth of free gems by using an exploit with the cash shop, right? Quite a lot of gold, as you can imagine, and bought up every Mystic coin and every Blood Legion key, right? Every Flame Legion key, all the keys from Grothmar and stuff like that. And it rebounded within
like 2 hours.
A few hours. Yeah. And this is a different situation because people are kind of hoarding Mystic coins. People might not be hoarding all the basic crafting like wood and Orichalcum and stuff like that. But I felt there's so much supply in the game, the bots can't possibly make a dent, right? Considering how robust the economy is. So we've already seen that you can literally throw 45 grand at it and it won't even blink, right? It will like reset almost immediately. And hey, Guild Wars 2 economy well designed, okay? Like the new world could learn a little bit, I guess.
Well, it's not the economy is well designed. It's that the guy that did it wrong. He should have just bought out all the infusions and legendaries and just destroyed them.
That actually would have been a strat for sure. I mean, he tried to do it a little bit, but people were very suspicious of him on the Overflow because that's where you get a lot of the infusions, right? It's Overflow Trading Discord.
Yeah.
So he tried to buy out a bunch of charts,
which I'm banned in, by the way.
Wait,
I am perma-banned from Overflow.
Yeah, but didn't you say you were like trolling?
Yeah.
Why do you? Yeah.
I just like to say that I'm perma-banned. I just like to say that. The story's not that exciting. I just said that I wanted to trade only fan subs and bitcoins for people's legendaries, and then they perma-banned me.
Yeah, that's not surprising actually, but Yeah, if he could have got all the infusions and bought all of them up, that could have actually done some serious long-term damage. Because Cassiano did this. Although even that rebounded, though. That's the thing. Because Cassiano did this. So context.
Oh, the duper, right?
Yeah, Cassiano duped 30 million gold, at least. More than that, realistically. Probably it could be way more than that. We don't know the full extent of the duping. But he did do this. He was buying counter for like 40k, right? He'd buy all of them, right? And he wasn't considered to be super suspicious for a long time. So he was able to purchase all these infusions. And that did it really skyrocketed the price of chalk, confetti, counter, right? Like mystic coins even, right? Like all this stuff went up because of him, right? But then it went down again. Like after Cassiano got banned and all those infusions got vaporized, right? They didn't exist anymore because his account got deleted. Although, well, having said that, he actually is technically unbanned now. He only got a 6 month. I don't know how he only got a 6 month ban, but holy shit, he only got a 6 month ban for that. I hope they logged on and deleted those items, by the way. Okay, otherwise we're in for a wild ride. But even that, the price of the infusions reset pretty quickly of like the really high-end items. Like it seems really hard to actually market manipulate almost anything in Guild Wars 2 as more than like a joke, right? With like nuking and nuking all of your gold too. Because you certainly won't make profit, right? You know, like Teef Not, the exploit man, he didn't make gold off that. He lost an insane amount of account value by converting his gold into those items, right? And then it was all for nothing. They just came back immediately. Yeah. Yes, that's what I've heard. That's not 100% confirmed, guys, by the way, the Cassiano ban, but that's what I've heard, right? I've heard that it's a 6 month ban and he will return to the game at some point. Maybe his main is permed and his alts only got 6 months. That's possible, I guess, because obviously the main account is the main issue, but still. I don't know.
Yeah, it just shows that you can't buy goods. You just have to buy people if you really want to change the economy. You want to tear up an economy, you have to buy the people that run it.
I mean, who are those people in Guild Wars 2, though?
You want me to name names?
Darkbringer.
It's Darkbringer. And
he's on the Overflow Discord,
yeah.
And he's a dev. What do you think of that?
Yeah,
put 2 and 2 together.
Darkbringer investigated the dupe.
I would go so far as to say
he used it.
I'd go so far as to say it's 100% confirmed that Darkbringer is Cassiano.
Oh, I mean, now that's a potential huge expose there, right? That is.
You can quote me. It's 100% confirmed.
Did Cassiano ever lose a duel to Renji?
Now that I think of it, Nike, you know that clip of you and Darkbringer in Dragon Stand?
Were you botting?
He was there botting.
Yeah, like why was he there? Like you were not gonna go exploit, right? But he was there.
Yeah. What was he doing in an empty Dragon Stand map?
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Kind of sussy.
Yeah, it's a joke, by the way, guys. Okay.
Yeah, it's 100% a joke.
It's a hilarious joke. That's all it is.
Yeah, don't ban us.
And with that in mind, I think it's time to move on. So, Elite Specializations. We are essentially on version 2 of all of the new Elite Specs. Not all of them got changed as much as, some of the others. I think, Spectre kind of got jiggled a bit, numbers changed, right? Whereas Untamed got like a huge update where they essentially fully reworked Untamed at this point, right? They really went to town on it. And it's going to be completely different. It's going to be nothing like the same thing there whatsoever. So I'm going to say, Nike, do you have any kind of highlights right from the
preface
notes?
This by saying, since this is happening before we actually get to play any of this, everything we're going to say is probably going to be wrong. And since we are prefacing that, if we are wrong about anything, we're still technically right because it doesn't count. Yep. So if you're commenting saying that we're wrong, you're just wasting your time.
Yeah. So we've covered all the bases there, right?
So I think the biggest takeaway with all of this is that Willbender is still going to get exploded instantly upon loading into a PvP match. Like the second it goes like the voiceover guy's like, destroy their team and capture the points. Like your character just like explodes if you're on Willbender. That's probably.
But you have one more dodge now.
Yeah, exactly.
One more evade.
Yeah, and they've made it so you don't have punishing trade-offs too on Willbender. In fact, this is something they've moved away from in general. They kind of they played a little bit with having traits that have a positive and a negative a fair bit. They've kind of got rid of that now. Like Untamed doesn't lose damage anymore when the pet is unleashed and you aren't, right? And vice versa. And yeah, all of the Willbender adept traits just are strict good, right? You know, there are no trade-offs anymore on those. Which I think that's probably a good way to go. I mean, it's hard to actually design something like that makes sense and can be well balanced. So I think that's good. You're definitely right about Willbender, though. I think Willbender it's better. It's moved in the right direction, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough. Maybe in PvE, it just does damage now. It might be able to pump hard enough to be good. I think that's possible because I think they tuned up the sword offhand a bit to make it a little bit better. And I think it gets a bit more damage, right? And it's gonna.
Is it better than Focus yet, though? That's the question.
That is going to be a good question.
I'm going to use it anyways because I like how it looks.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they cleaned up the aftercasts and some of like the weird animation locks. Like maybe that like power Willbender gets up to like 37 or 38k. That seems possible.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily good, but it's probably better than what Dragon Hunter is at the moment. So
I think when you're looking at Willbender, I think it's going to be where is it now in this patch, and with another patch after that, it can probably get itself into a pretty good spot. Right now, it is going to be a little bit. I don't see it being good in PvP. It will just be too squishy. We're going to sound like such a broken record here, and you're going to hear us repeat this a fair bit. I think a really big problem for a lot of the elite specs is not that they're actually bad. I think Willbender makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like a glassy Roma with not a crazy amount of, like a little bit of healing. When you're aggressive, you know, you go in with your F2 and you use it and then you hit people really hard, right, to trigger loads of healing. On that, yeah, you can actually heal yourself pretty well as long as you're being aggressive enough. The problem is that's kind of hard to do in the current meta. The current meta is very like brawlery, very bruisery with people like smashing each other, which is kind of not what Willbender does. In the current meta, I mean, even if you look at Thief, right? Like Thief has a crazy amount of sustain on it, which Willbender is not going to have. Doesn't have stealth, doesn't have 3 evades, right? Like all this kind of stuff. It doesn't have this in the same way that a lot of the other specs are. So it's not that Willbender is bad. It's just that everything else is insane, and just the meta is very inhospitable to a lot of builds. We'll have to see how these things continue to develop, but you know. This is the bait. This patch here and the notes that we've got here from CMC, this is the bait for the Apocalypse Thermo Nuke, right? That CMC is going to drop on the game at some point, right? They're like, I think it's actually inevitable because they haven't gone insane. Like the only thing that they really power crept a fair bit was Mechanist Signets are now really fucking crazy because they were like, you know what? The Signets, they weren't good enough. Let's just make them have a tooltip that fills the entire screen. And Untamed, right? Like Untamed is going to be so juicy. No, actually, it's going to be really, really juicy for sure. But yeah, some good usability to Willbender.
You forgot Power Harbinger.
Oh,
that made me honestly think of something, and so did like condition damage Willbender too. I think we don't have the complete picture on those. And you know why?
Why?
We don't have the new gear stats yet.
But what's better than Berserker gear for Power Harbinger?
Well, what if there's like power precision condition damage? Or sorry, power ferocity condition damage. Do we have that already? We don't have that already, do we?
I mean, you have grieving. That's basically that.
Well, like what if there's just like an all-in gear that makes it good? Some new type. I don't know. Like maybe I'm wrong. Like honestly, I think it's stupid to have a trait line as it sits right now. But
don't you think this is an inherent problem with the way trait lines are right now? Because you only have 3 choices, and a lot of the times,
well, they're probably just like shouldn't be. Yeah, like the power ferocity duo stat is one that like I've thought for a while, like thought of or wanted for a while, but it would make more sense to have that on Reaper. In Harbinger, I don't know if it would. I don't know why you would play Power Harbinger over Power Reaper, or maybe you would. I don't know.
Well. All of Harbinger's kit is Condi, though.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So like, why is there a power trait line when like pistol's a little bit hybridy? It has some power damage on it, I guess, and Shroud, I guess, has a little bit of power damage, but it's Condi, right? Like it's a Condi build. Why does it have this like random power trait line in there? And the problem is that you go, oh, make a hybrid build then. Well, the problem is that you have 3 choices, and the way that the trait lines have been structured is they all compete with each other, right? You have a power option, a boon option, or a Condi option. Power option, boon option, Condi option. So there's the lines like compete with each other and like obliterate each other. There will always be like a better one to go for. The power line is completely fucking worthless. I'm not gonna lie. It's I think what they might actually want to do, okay, right? Here's the thing. You know how they reworked the Harbinger so it no longer auto-drains Shroud? They should completely scrap the GM line and the power line and make the GM traits interact with Harbinger Shroud in some way, and one of the traits makes Shroud behave that way, right? And actually drain your Shroud and heal you. Because, I'm not gonna lie, guys, in PvP, like, that thing got, like, CMCW'd, okay? Like, Harbinger is just a giant 300-second cooldown, and that's your respawn timer right now, guys, because, holy shit, Harbinger got the absolute hammer. Like, it was one of the specs in PvP that had a bit of promise, because it was actually pretty survivable, right? What the mobility, the self-sustain 2, solid damage output, all that kind of great stuff. But now they just took away all of its sustain, made elixirs a little bit better. Still not as good as regular necromancer utility skills. Yeah, Harbinger is dead, right? It's been killed. It will still be good in PvE though. It'll do loads of big damage, big pump of damage. But Necro, yeah, Harbinger in PvP, fucking DOA, right? That will it will honestly feed more than Willbender, right? That will be a bigger feeder build than Willbender. That's real, by the way. Okay, actually real. Unless it's some kind of like top secret build, maybe, that hasn't been come
Well,
up.
maybe the power build's good. That's what he said, right?
Yeah.
He said maybe it's a good.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Sorry, go ahead, Nike.
No, I don't really have thoughts on or Harbinger and PvP.
Wow.
You're probably right.
Yeah. Like,
yeah, the general thing is like, not every one of these specs got the cookie cutter power Condi support like meme that some of them did, like Harbinger, Virtuoso are the ones that jump to my mind like the most in terms of cookie cutter. Willbender sort of got that, and Vindicator sort of also got that, but like it just seems like they, I don't want to say ran out of time, but like those do seem like those trait lines seem rushed, and there's not enough transformational like choices at the different levels. And obviously at your adept, you can have the power Condi hybrid thing, but that needs to be like an adept thing, you know, like where you pick your adept trait, sort of like sets the tone for how you're going to play. But then like, as you progress on, like your GM traits should be like play style defining. Like, oh, this makes your elixirs like super low cooldown or super high damage. You know what I mean? Like it should change the way you play rather than like buffing like what you're doing.
Yeah. That's the problem I see with some of the elite specs. I think specifically Virtuoso and Harbinger, I think, suffer from this a lot, is that no matter what traits you pick, you're going to be doing the exact same thing, more or less. Like they don't do anything, right? Really, like, you know, whereas, you know, I mean, like, I hate to say it, but you look at something like Scourge, there's a really big difference on how your build's going to play out if you play a different spec, if you play different, you know, different trait lines there. It's like not the same thing whatsoever. And, you know, I guess you could even look at it, maybe this actually isn't the fairest criticism, actually. Like, if you look at some of the older elite specs, like, does Reaper really significantly change playstyle depending on what traits you have? Not really. You know, even Condi uses Greatsword, right, for like all the world finishes and stuff
Reaper
like that.
did at one point.
Yeah.
At one point it did, but they
Yeah, at one point you were playing 3 builds at the same time.
Yeah. I guess, you know, like, I suppose the thing is that you don't really change your build or the playstyle if you play Power or Condi, right? Because obviously something like Condi Necro is very different in, you know, the you know, Is it though? Is it really though? I guess the problem is that Harbinger like literally only does damage and then it will like passively give boons sometimes, right? That's the thing. Whereas
honestly, you know what? Fuck you. I'm fine with Harbinger. Ooh. I think it's cool and I think it's good the way that it is.
Boom.
I just don't want a power trait line. I want like a support trait line. Like I want everything in there to make transfusion better somehow so I can carry harder. I want something to carry even harder than Heal Scourge.
I mean, it would never be as good as Heal Scourge. That's the problem. That's why they kind of can't do that. This is where you get to the point. ArenaNet are limited here. ArenaNet are very limited in this regard because they don't have enough design space anymore. Like, what can you do to Necro, right? It has to be like full glass cannon DPS.
To your allies. You could give blight to your allies and kill them.
That's just griefing, though.
Yeah, exactly. We need this Darkbringer, make it happen. We need to be able to give blight to allies.
I don't know. It's really interesting. I think that a lot of the Ender Dragon's elite specs, they are a bit more kind of toned down in terms of the design scope. So it's difficult to make them do more than one thing because they don't have enough buttons. The thing about something like Scourge and Firebrand and Renegade 2 is they have loads of buttons. So you can make them do different things and have different playstyles pretty easily. But a lot of the elite specs now, all of their abilities are pointed in one direction. And unless you would have a trait that, well, unless you go like Mechanist, right, and make it so that every trait changes an ability completely, then it's really hard to give them any kind of flexibility in the way that they're going to play out based on traits, right? I mean, it's hard. It's hard.
You could easily have a Harbinger trait that makes your elixirs like literally heal your allies.
Yeah.
Or like an elixir trait that like cures their condies and gives them like whatever the resolution or whatever it is that makes it so they can't get condi. Like you can do stuff, and then you could like have a different trait line that instead of just being like Herder adds 10% damage, it just like buffs the pistol skills like a ton. Like you take this trait line and it makes like improves the pistol skills. So I don't know. There's things you can do. You basically you look at what the specs are, which is a new weapon and then like a new profession mechanic and then new utility skills, and you can make trait lines around those. You know what I mean? Like one, instead of being power condi hybrid, it's weapon, utility skill, profession mechanic. You know, and then now you have an interesting choice at each tier. Do I want to take the trait from the adept that buffs the weapon, and then the one that buffs the profession mechanic at GM, and then the one that buffs the utility skills at master, or do I want to take three different ones, like a different combination? And it could potentially feel a lot different. Or you could go all in on one, and if that works.
I think interactions with profession mechanics are key. I think that's what can make things feel different, because you're going to be interacting with the same mechanics, and things can't be passive too. They need to move away from Harbinger, the GM traits all being passive pulsing auras. That needs to go. I'm sorry, I can't believe that didn't go actually with the balance patch, rather with the new update there. They are some of the worst traits I have ever seen. Imagine your Grandmaster trait, the spiciest trait in your build, just giving you a different flavor of pulsing AoE while you're in Shroud. That is lame.
They should be the first ones you take.
Like, I mean, they should just be different.
Well, yeah, they should be different, but yeah, like you could put them anywhere in the line and they would make the same impact. You could put them at the beginning, the middle, or the Grandmaster, and like it doesn't like they don't do anything. Like they're just some AoE AFK pulse. It sucks. It's stupid. I like the idea of quickness support Necro, but like if I can like hold my elixirs in the air or like time them or something and like throw quickness and shit, like that would be cool. Like having a trait that like modifies them so that they can give quickness somehow or differently, like that would be cool. But or maybe like you pay health to throw more boons out with them. I don't fucking know. But yeah, the pulse is really, really boring.
Yeah. You know what actually isn't boring though? Okay.
Virtuoso.
Well, wow. I mean, I was not expecting you to say that. I was going to say Catalyst, but now I'm intrigued. Why do you... That is a hot take, Brazil.
Okay. Well, no, they fixed it and it's good now. It's some sort of a damage. Yeah, he says its identity is some sort of a damage dealer, so we're all good to go.
It's
right.
Still...
That was a quote from CMC. It's
seems
supposed to
pretty
be some
bad
sort of a damage dealer.
in World v. World still, right? But I think
I'm not so
like,
sure.
Okay. So I did a lot of research the same way a lot of people do research on various medicines and vaccines, which is I went to the official forums and I searched for research on what people were saying about Virtuoso, and the official forums agrees that it's still bad in World v. World. And that case closed.
Yeah, it's got to be true then.
It's Virtuoso is interesting because I think they've identified the problem that they wanted to make it a bit better in World. So I think the trait they've added, right, the unblockable, whenever you get a block or an evade with a 3-second cooldown, making your next blade song unblockable. They ArenaNet clearly want to make it good in Wolves with. There's like that trait is honestly arguably insanely fucking toxic, right, in PvP, right? That means that realistically you can make almost all of your shatters unblockable now, which is actually disgusting. I'm not gonna lie. Into some builds for sure, like, you know, just ignore projectile destruction. That's a scary trait, honestly. It does require an evade to trigger or a block, so there is, you know, you can kind of predict it. If you see the Mesmer block, you go, oh yeah, they're going to do an unblockable thing now, so I can dodge it. And it's not instant cast anymore like regular shatters, so you have a lot more counterplay in general because of the projectile nature of them. But it's still scary. So I like that they've gone in that direction. But is it enough for a complete build yet? Maybe not. We'll have to see. I think it will definitely be experimented with, and it has potential to be good. Like this. It's a good start. It's a good start for Virtuoso, in my opinion, right? It's a few more changes like that in the same direction. You could definitely see it have a proper identity in World versus World.
And from PvE, I think it's very underrated that it restocks its daggers outside of combat. So you will start every encounter with 5 daggers, which it's pretty badass, brother.
That's good.
It's like, yeah, it's gonna main every raid or every boss. You start like auto 5 burst. It's good.
Is that the new dungeon meta then?
I don't know. It could be.
Yeah.
The new dungeon meta is like switching your fucking build every 10 seconds. Kind of.
Somebody in Hardstuck guild chat earlier was asking for a heal firebrand for a dungeon tour. That was fun.
No, well, I mean, hey, you know, you got to keep everyone safe. We'll make it nice and chill, very relaxing. Yep. What I want to see, and I really hope that the team leans into this, and this goes for a lot of things, actually, not just a Virtuoso. We need to see fights that actually reward ranged usage more. And the game needs to be balanced a lot better. Like, melee builds should do more damage than range builds, and range builds should basically all get nerfed currently. Like, the fact that Renegade can do that, Scourge can do so much damage while being entirely ranged. Renegade can be mostly ranged and do so much damage. This is insane, right? Virtuoso has something that is actually, I think unique. I don't think anything else can really do this. I guess Elementalist Staff can, I suppose. But all of its abilities are 1200 range. Right? All of them, every single one, like on its build, they're all 1200 range. That's actually really good. To have that. Like, if you had more encounters, and potentially the strike missions may lead into this, that had the boss moving around a bit more movement involved, a bit more area denial from the bosses, then all of a sudden stuff like Virtuoso becomes way more attractive as an option. It would still have to compete with Scourge, and actually Scourge is a massive cock block for Virtuoso, actually, because if Virtuoso and Scourge do approximately the same damage, which they actually do now because Virtuoso got nerfed pretty hard, then yeah, like, you'd have to be an absolute imbecile to play Virtuoso over Scourge. But hey, that's another issue entirely right there. Okay, we need a little bit of a hammer onto Scourge to make some of this stuff come through. But there's potential. I think that a lot of balance issues in PvE don't even necessarily arise from the numbers being wrong. It's because the game doesn't really utilize any of the interesting mechanics that some professions can bring to the table. If there was a really heavy Condi fight, then Heal Scrap will be amazing because of how much cleanse it has compared to most of the other supports. If there was a fight that required mobility or range, then all of a sudden Willbender is much more attractive, and so is Virtuoso. So if you start designing encounters like this, yeah, then I think there's potential, right? You can definitely go there, for sure, right? Like, there's some pretty interesting stuff, I think.
The problem is that most of the people in PvE have maybe one set of exotic armor on one class with maybe one rune set, a complete one, and not 6 different runes. So if you tell them that they have to bring a specific class for a specific encounter, then it's not gonna be working out.
Well, you don't design it like that. You design it so it's like a little bit better, right? You don't say, oh, if you don't run Willbender and Thief here, you can't win. It's like, oh yeah, Thief and Willbender are really good here. Or like Virtuoso is really good here.
But you know how the community is. Well, when something's a little bit better, then that's the only thing that's...
Yeah, DPS is the only thing that matters.
I mean, maybe, but I don't think that's actually how people optimize right now. People are very focused around
Final Fantasy.
Well, that's just the bot makers, man. Okay, the regular players are still here in Guild Wars 2. They're still here in Tyria. But I think people don't actually focus necessarily around like optimizing. They just go for what's easiest to get hold of. I think a really big part of why people run so many heal firebrands in raids isn't because heal firebrand is like super amazing. It's because heal firebrand is very common in fractals. Same thing with Rev. Like Rev and firebrand are just like so useful because they play in every game mode. So I'm not sure if that would really be the case, if people would start mega optimizing for that. If they would, then that would also be a problem. But that's a problem anyway right now. You know, like, would it really make it a lot worse? And hey, let's be honest, you're going to be able to flatten every strike mission with Scourges anyway. So listen, guys, don't worry. You're not under any threat. Like your one build to rule them all, it's still there. I don't know. I think that, you know, I think the game maybe having a community that doesn't quite engage with the content very well and is a bit weird about what things to play isn't a reason to not improve the encounter design to assist with balancing the game. And just make some of the maybe lesser known professions or other specializations a little bit more attractive in certain scenarios. Like more boon manipulation would be really good too, right? Like suddenly Spellbreak is really interesting. Stuff like, you know, boon corruption or necro becomes much more interesting too, as like a part of that class. You know, the identity of necro is a lot of boon removal, boon corruption, right? If that was more important, then yeah, I mean, that would be a cool thing that necro could do that maybe other professions wouldn't be able to do too. You know, stuff like Mesmer, right, can also do the same thing with boon removal, right? There's a lot going on there. And I think not using those mechanics in endgame PvE it's been a mistake for a long time. And it does reduce build diversity because if you just boil it down to what's the best DPS, what's the best healer, then yeah, of course, you're disregarding a huge amount of utility that every elite specialization has in some form or another that is going to make your balance a lot more scuffed because, you know, like there's always going to be best DPS. You know, no matter how well you balance it, one thing will always outperform the other a lot of the time. Yeah, Untamed has boon removal now as well. Hell yeah. You love to see it, guys. It feels damn good. Oh, no. It's food for thought. I mean, hey, I wish we could see a demo of the strikes, but that's not happening, unfortunately.
Yeah,
well, you don't want to spoil anything.
We're not going to get any more information before EOD on the strikes, right? Because it's story related.
Well, they could take us into the maps. They would just disable it, literally. Right?
Yeah.
Here's the arena. Actually, they couldn't even show us the arena because that might be a spoiler.
Yeah, I guess it could.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I think we've talked about, yeah, the first big winner was definitely Untamed. The second big winner was definitely Catalyst.
Yes.
Okay. And, you know, I want to hand this over to Zach. You know, Zach, you know, I've got to congratulate you. I've got to give you, you know, a round of applause. You made a song about how sad all the LE players are. ArenaNet saw it and they were like, whoa, you know, all these LE players are sad. We're just going to buff the hell out of Catalyst and kind of rework it significantly. Give us your thoughts. Zach's also an LE main as well, by the way, guys. Okay, Elementalist main Zach. Yes.
Yeah, I used to be.
There you
go. I mean, I didn't pay like 100% attention to the balance changes because it was a fucking long stream with CMC. But like, it sounds like they just addressed everything that people had a problem with Catalyst, right? With the F5 and the range on the Hammer 3, like the radius. I mean, it looks good now, I guess. I don't know, like from a PvE perspective, it's just about DPS anyway. And I don't really do anything else in the game. But we'll see. Like, I don't really like the thing where like everything kind of does either quickness or alacrity now. With like this class has this, and then this class has this, and it doesn't really like. I mean, it's nice that you can have build diversity, but I think it should be a little bit more diverse than just, all right, take a little bit of boon duration and do one of those two. I'm not a big fan of that. I never had a problem with just having Chronos do that. Like, I don't really see. Like, I don't mind. It's just like if I do quickness passively on a Harbinger, that doesn't really change my play style. I don't really know what the alacrity on Willbender is about, but I don't know. Any takes?
Oh, yeah,
You sound like an elitist.
Honestly, yeah.
We got to talk about
as soon as
alacrity
you
on
mentioned
Willbender.
I don't do
damage.
support. I'm a big dick DPS main. I don't fucking do support. You want boons? Look elsewhere, because I'm just here swinging my hammer, fucking people up.
Yeah, it's correct, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Catalyst is an interesting one. We should definitely go back to alacrity Willbender because it's a topic that's worth talking about just in general. Like the way they've been handling boons is, I think, very indicative of things to come. Stay tuned for that. But Catalyst, I think, is so this is what happened with Catalyst. Catalyst now can, each orb in each achievement has its own cooldown. It's 5 seconds, right? And it costs a lot less energy, and you can have loads of orbs up at the same time. So Catalyst has a lot of boon access right now, particularly with the trait Spectacular Sphere. Like, Spectacular Sphere, that is really quite something, not gonna lie. So for those who don't know, that trait is whenever you drop down a sphere, you get boons based on the achievement. So it's Might in fire, it's Fury in water, it is it is Resolution in earth, I believe. Can't remember what it is in air, actually. Oh no, a noob. Might just be it might just be Swiftness, might just be boring. I'm gonna go look it up now just to make sure I know what I'm talking about. Oh, it's Vigor in air, yeah. So you actually have really interesting boon access in it. Oh, it's Resistance, by the way, actually. Oh yeah, it's Resolution pulsing on the earth thing, and it's Resistance on Spectacular Sphere. So you actually have like insane boon access now. On Catalyst. So you can give Might, you can give Fury, Vigor, Quickness, Resistance, Resolution, and Protection, I think. Oh yeah, it gives you Resolution in water, Protection in earth. Dude, I'm a noob, guys. I don't know what I'm talking about. So yeah, you have so much boon access, actually, on this build. And you can have all your spheres, and they're instant cast. So if you just kind of like, you can be doing your rotation, your DPS rotation, and dropping down the sphere at the same time. You have crazy potential to be supporting your team while DPSing at the same time. I think a kind of boon share or like semi-support hybrid DPS catalyst, like with the hammer, is now really interesting if you want to do that. Yeah, you could even play Arcane trait line with Elemental Attunement as well. That would be maybe a little bit overkill because you're probably going to want to run Catalyst and then 2 DPS trait lines. Otherwise, you're going to be a noodle. I'm not going to lie, guys, right? And if you play this build, you probably want to do damage as well because you can't heal. Here's the problem, guys. Like, Catalyst Hammer doesn't heal. I mean, I guess you could play Staff, but if you're going to play Staff, you're going to play Tempest, right? Like, there's no reason to play Heal Catalyst when Tempest exists, in my opinion. So you're going to go for like a DPS hybrid and give Quickness, Might, Fury, Vigor, Resistance, Protection. You can probably give Swiftness somehow too, actually, and do damage. That is much more appealing. That's much more interesting, I think, from that perspective, because Quickness is an expensive boon, right? And being able to give like all the offensive ones and a lot of the defensive ones for good uptimes, maybe with like a Diviner build. Okay, now we're talking, right?
It just fits perfectly in the current meta, right? Like just DPS and boons in one.
Yeah.
It's like every class right now.
It's maybe. I think the real question is how much damage can you do at the same time as that? And this is where you know, I've been trying to avoid bringing this up because I don't want to have every tea time be a permanent deja vu. But you do have to start thinking about 10 target because I'm like, oh, dude, you can give Protection and Vigor. Well, Tempest can do that to 10 targets, right? But you can, Pog, you can give Resolution and Resistance. Well, I mean, Firebrand can do that as well, and it can also give stability and Aegis, right, and Quickness, and do a shit ton of damage. Right, and give stability. Catalyst, no. Catalyst is probably going to have to take a bit of a DPS hit to maintain a lot of this stuff permanently. The instant cast sphere does make it quite nice, but I don't know. It's just one of those things that sounds like insane on paper. It's like, whoa, Catalyst is like every boon in the game with this trait, Spectacular Sphere. That's fucking wild. You can even take like the Mega Sphere trait where you get 50% more boon duration baseline. You can double that up for triple boon duration with Diviner Gear. But then you realize that you do no damage. Yeah, like to me, this build kind of overlaps a little bit with Boon Herald. Boon Herald is exactly as being mentioned in the chat right now. It's like a 25k, 28k DPS build. And it gives 10 target prot, 10 target fury, 10 target swiftness, and a little bit of might as well at the same time. That's very strong. Can Catalyst match that? Catalyst has quickness for 5 target. And I think maybe this is something that...
So
yeah,
I have a thought.
Yeah, go.
I think one thing we're all looking at it is from like optimized group standpoint, which and like how does this fit into the speed clear meta or even like the efficient like pug meta? But that's like not how most people engage with the game in PvE. The overwhelming majority of people engage with the game with just rocking up to open world events and stuff. And in that situation, I think Catalyst looks really fucking good at like world bosses and big meta events and stuff. Like it does everything you could possibly want in a build at a thing like that. And maybe this is copium on my part, but I think a big way that people are going to engage with the game moving forward is like kind of like semi-scuffed strike groups, you know, like that's how people are going to engage with the game. And in a situation like that, like builds like Boon Herald and Catalyst will be, you're not going to like be upset when people join on those builds just because they contribute, even if it's not perfect speed clear meta.
Well,
there are too many buttons to push. Why would I want to do quickness on Catalyst and push buttons when I can just have my Harbinger just pulse quickness if I'm playing open world?
I guess like my problem here, and this would definitely apply to Harbinger as well, is that I think it's kind of worse for what you're describing in a way, Nike. Not for open world, but definitely for entry-level instance content. Because think about it, like Catalyst is
too hard.
Well, it's not about being too hard, in my opinion. Like people can handle that. I think people will be able to handle it fine. It's that Catalyst, essentially, all it's going to do is give quickness and do damage. Like the other utility that it has is kind of not super relevant because the way people build squads, they're not going to say, "Ooh, right, we've got a Catalyst for protection and might in group 1. Oh, yeah, nice. And then we're going to have a Harbinger in group 2 for quickness. And then in the second group, we're going to have a Warrior for 25 might." No, they're going to say, we're going to have a Firebrand in group 1 for quickness, a Chrono in group 2 for quickness, and a Lacra for 10 target alacrity. And we're going to have a Druid for 10 target, all the defensive stuff, right? So
that's still probably more efficient of a group than the 99% of players will find themselves in.
It's not about the efficiency though. It's about the ease of building it, right? If that makes any sense. Like,
yeah.
Because if you have Catalyst and you're going to say, right, we're going to take advantage of all the cool stuff that Catalyst can do, which is basically the boon utility, right? Resistance, resolution, vigor, might, fury, right? Protection. It's got a lot of cool stuff there. But how that gets, you know, kind of fizzled away into nothingness when you look at the current support builds that exist in the game. Am I expressing myself correctly though?
I guess I'm looking at it like what, like the difference between giving, like, let's say you have a Firebrand in your group who's giving quickness, and then it's a pug group, so he's probably giving like 80% quickness uptime because, you know, sometimes pugs just choose not to press their buttons when they could. They like run around in a circle and then press their buttons. Like, but I guess what I'm getting at is it's functionally not different to be contributing 20% quickness uptime to get your group to 100 than it is to give like a boon extension that functionally does the same thing. So like, I don't think that like extraneous boons are wasted or lost. Like, the worse the group, the more value obviously they have, just because there'll be more like the commander will go, okay, we need an alacrity guy, we need a quickness guy, but those people are gonna like be too busy like chewing on their keyboard to like press their buttons 100% of the time. So having like random DPS professions that contribute 10% here, 20% there is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Increases the win rate, so to speak.
Yeah. And I hope so. I just hope that it can do a good... I think it needs to do a pretty damn good amount of damage while giving really nice quickness uptime. If it can do that, then it's going to be a lot better. And because it should be pretty consistent quickness uptime as well, because the sphere it's a good radius. You can place it anywhere you want, and it's got a very short cooldown. So I think you can do that, and you can really juice up the boon duration on it as well. So it should be a solid option. And now you don't have to camp air either, right? You can move around, and the air sphere will just stay down, right? So Catalyst has definitely got something going for it at this point now. And even if you look at the competitive game modes as well, like in PvP, the new toolkit is really interesting, I think. They juiced up Hammer a lot. Like Hammer has just had a lot of usability improvements, a lot more sustain on Hammer, extra barrier, condition cleanse, better usability on some of the AoE attacks there. It has a lot of potential, I think, now to be much more relevant as a weapon, so the full build can come through. And with the spheres, you just have so much better access to boons. The cooldown is a lot longer. It's a 15-second cooldown in PvP, opposed to 5 in PvE, so you can't, like, giga spam all the spheres too, but you will still be able to be a pretty nice thing. And I think that's where Catalyst can actually shine, is competitive modes, actually, because there, those boons aren't so common in resistance, resolution, protection, right? These things are a bit harder to obtain. So if you're in a team fight with all of that, then Catalyst can really bring some value, I think, to the table. So I'm definitely expecting to see Catalyst experimentation.
Do you think it's tankier than a Tempest in SPVP?
Oh, Ellie is super weird in PvP because Tempest is not supports in general are not that tanky because they rely on outgoing healing modifiers to heal rather than just like, having a lot of healing on themselves these days because, CMC kind of tried to get rid of the bunker meta and he succeeded to an extent. But Tempest,
to everyone's dismay, I want it back. Fuck it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You like that Ventari Rev, dude? Yeah.
He ruined my favorite build.
But yeah, like Tempest's main problem right now is that it's too squishy. It just gets farmed really hard, and you have a really weird decision. You can either be really good against power damage with Earth, or really good against Condis with Fire. But if there's power damage and Condi damage on the enemy team, you're in a lot of trouble as Ellie, right? As Tempest in general. So I think Catalyst might be able to survive a little bit better just because it has more defensive, like actual defensive abilities that it can use compared to Tempest there as well. And it has some self-sustain on it. But I think a lot of these Ender Dragon specs, sustain is where they are going to fall down just a tiny bit, like where their baseline elite spec, or rather where the base profession doesn't have a lot of built-in sustain, they'll have trouble to survive. For example, like Ranger Untamed won't have this problem with surviving, and I think we should, I think we can probably move on to Untamed in a little bit here, because that's a very exciting one. But Untamed is fine because you already have a really solid survivability package on Ranger. You can have Great Sword, you can have really good stun breaks, Lightning Reflexes, Quickening Zephyr, right? All the stuff, right? You got a great heal skill.
Pet,
yeah, the pet is there, right? A mob and stuff like that. There's a lot of good stuff going on there for Ranger at a baseline. But with Catalyst, base Ellie might be the worst specialization in the game. I think. Maybe base NG is worse, but it's very close between those two. It's definitely one of the worst things in the game, whereas base Ranger is actually quite good, right? So anything that builds on top of Ranger, which, let's be honest, that's what a lot of the elite specs do, is going to be good. It's going to be okay, at least, simply because it has a solid foundation. Ellie does not have this, right? Like, it is its elite specs, right? Like that, it lives and dies by elite specs, not by its core builds, because they are just kind of weak, unfortunately. So will Catalyst be like mega good? Very interesting to see how it pans out. They made a lot of improvements to it, I think, but I don't know. Like compared to other EOD specs, I think it's pretty solid right now. The question is like, how does it fare in the current meta? I mean, again, I've said that before, and I almost want to talk about these things more in a vacuum. Just in general, because I think if you compare them to a lot of what's currently in the game, then they come up fairly short just in general. But there you go.
Yeah, some of us have that
I'm a
problem.
nerf hammer
Teapot.
believer. I think either with the expansion or slightly after, we're going to see the reckoning.
Yeah.
Some of a lot of like stuff that's 10-man will go back to 5-man. A lot of overpowered mechanics like Firebrand Heal Skill Aegis will get evaporated. Necro Scepter, just the base Scepter skills, which are all overpowered, will be going away.
You think they're overpowered?
Yeah, I do. And some Scourge stuff will go as well.
Why do you think Necro Base Scepter is overpowered?
Because it's like the highest range DPS weapon in the game.
No, it's not.
Okay,
what
is?
Rifle Thief.
Okay, well, that's a roleplay build as the poll that I ran on my Twitter.
Yeah, that's a roleplay build. It doesn't count.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's for roleplay purposes only.
You're right.
I mean, yeah, I don't want to get into a necro balance discussion, but I think the Curses trait line in general is just way too good, and Scepter is too good at a baseline, and stuff like Core Shroud should be way better. So that, you know, the baseline stuff on necro is just a little bit too good. The base needs to come down a bit, and then you can make the specializations make an area of Necromancer shine. That's what Nike is getting at, by the way. Okay, and that is indeed correct. But we've talked to them about Catalyst. You know, who cares about LE players anyway? Someone give me a take on Untamed. Give me like a good take on it. Like I want something spicy. Give me some energy here. Give me a little juice. Juice me up a little bit.
I think every change they made is a mistake, and they should just put it back to how it was.
I think it's going to be sick in PvP as like a roamer sort of thing, or like a side noter. Like it's not. It seems like it's going to be very unfun to duel, like a 1v1 against it. In PvE, I still think like I can't imagine why anyone would play it unless you were like really into like Grizzly Adams roleplay with your bear.
Yes.
Like I don't know. But yeah, PvE it just seems worthless. Or not worthless, but like I don't understand why you would not just run Soul Beast in any situation where Untamed is good.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a good take. You know, I think the really interesting thing, I'll just briefly explain what the changes are. So they made it a little bit like Mirage now. So whenever you unleash, you get access to a special auto attack, like it's called an ambush skill, just like Mirage. That's obviously got a 10-second cooldown, I believe. So you can't, spam unleash, right, and then ununleash because it's got a 1-second cooldown on changing unleash mode. So you can't do that anymore. But these spells are very interesting, and it's got me excited. I think Untamed was already going to be pretty okay in PvP. Now, as Nike says, it's going to be really good in PvP and bring a lot of value, I think, to the team fight and as a solid duelist too. So definitely kind of exactly what Ranger needed, right? I think that's exactly what the Doctor ordered for Ranger. It's definitely moving into the design space where I think it belongs. So I think the team did a great job there. But World versus World is where it gets spicy because they added a lot of boon removal. The Great Sword Ambush attack removes boons. There's a trait that makes your ambush skills all remove extra boons. There's, like boon corruption available with Corrupted Vines too. There's a lot going on there that can make it an attractive option. Hammer is better now too. And Hammer will have the ability to remove boons with the ambush. Hammer has a lot of cleave on it, like some good CC. It is a bit, you're still going to have to deal with the pet, which is going to be annoying. Like your pet's going to die immediately in World versus World, but it's got a lot more potential now to be a really interesting force. Certainly for some, kind of the medium scale, maybe even larger scale World versus World with what it can bring to the table now. Very exciting. There's one really fun interaction with the ambush skills that, we'll have to see what the numbers are, but it sounds like it could be really, really insane. Like for every target you hit with an ambush skill, it will spawn a seed under that target. And the seed will then explode, hitting up to 5 targets. So in other words, if you hit 5 people with an ambush skill, it will spawn 5 seeds that all explode to hit 5 targets. So that's 25 total hits.
GVG.
Yeah,
like a really good GVG spec. Like maybe not like Zerg v Zerg in World v World, although it could be, but like in like 15v15, like it seems very high value.
I mean, That's a lot of damage. A small energy, 3 targets. I thought they were talking about balancing it up and down, but yeah, it might be 3 targets for the little seeds. But still, that's a lot. That's 15 hits, right? That's 15 targets in an AoE, like from a single ability. That is pretty damn good. Has a lot of potential. Again, you're going to have to deal with your pet. And I think you're going to have some kind of weird gameplay where you like swap your pet in. You use its boon corruption ability, like AoE. It's going to die instantly in World of Sword because of all the cleave. And then you kind of like repeat with your other pet while the other one respawns, basically. Like that's the way you might do it. Like you teleport the pet in, boom, instantly corrupt the boons with the pet. And then kind of combo that with all your other power damage. I mean, I don't know. Like that will be... that'll be something to see at least. I really appreciate that with Virtuoso and Untamed, they've looked at World versus World. Because that's what I think was a little bit disappointing for me, was that none of the new Elite Specializations really did anything in a World versus World environment, and that appears to be changing, certainly for Mesmer and Ranger, which are, you know, 2 of the biggest losers, right? They're the big losers when it comes to the World versus World meta. Like poor old Ranger, poor old Mesmer, not really having a proper build. Well, you know, we're going there now, which is nice.
I think World versus World should have a bunker meta.
You want everything to have a bunker meta.
Yeah.
What would that even look like? Like do you remember the HOT meta? What was it? The boon shed meta at the start?
See, now
camp on top of the Lord, and you're like, I don't care if you broke the doors to this fortress. We're just camping on the Lord with our bunkers.
And see, that's where we get siege turtles in. Now we have siege turtles
to break through the bunker, right?
To bunker bust, yes.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to roast the siege turtle. I'm going back to the beginning of the stream. You know what I didn't like about the siege turtle? I didn't like the fact that when you fire the siege turtle cannons, it doesn't fire a projectile from the gun. It just like does a little effect. Then it, like a shot comes down from the ground. I want to see like the cannon actually fire a projectile out instead of just like, you know, an effect and then
so
boom,
it's like calling in an airstrike.
Yeah, really? I don't like that. I think it's lame. I actually think that is the worst part. The only bad part about the siege turtle is the projectile is low energy. Well, it doesn't even have a projectile.
It just drops down.
It's
like a mortar.
Exactly. I mean, that is a little bit like a mortar. Siege, well, that is siege, I suppose, but it doesn't look good. I want my class fantasy, my turtle class fantasy of the beams, like all the, you know, the glowing green projectiles firing out across the battlefield. There you go.
Okay.
That's my random thought on that. You know,
is there a turtle pet? Does Ranger have a turtle pet?
Yeah, they get a siege turtle pet.
Okay.
He said that they were. It's
yeah, a baby siege turtle pet.
Okay.
So it's going to be useless.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it might be pretty good. I mean, they tend to make the expansion pets stronger than the core ones to make sure that they do see some play. And of course,
well, yeah, but it won't have the baby siege turtles don't have the like things on their back though.
Like they don't probably like do like a tail swipe and knock people over for like 10 seconds.
It jumps. Maybe it jumps. When you go in the water with it, it walks on the bottom. That would be good. It just goes all the way to the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, I think what will be fun is what will happen with the soul beast abilities, right? Because they'll interact with soul beast differently too. So they have to design that. That'll be fun.
Will you become a ninja turtle? Yeah. When you merge with your turtle, that'll be sweet.
You know,
with the daggers, it'll be like Raphael roleplay.
ArenaNet sometimes make pop culture references. Do you think they'd ever make a reference to the Ninja Turtles?
I doubt that.
That might be a little too far, you know, a little too much.
It's too far back in time. Like that's like a 90s reference. Like ArenaNet's references are like just a little too old. They're like 4 years ago references. Like when Guild Wars 2 came out in 2012, there was probably like a "Who Let the Dogs Out" reference because like it's like when your aunt forwards you a meme and you're like, okay, I guess this meme's dead now because it's reached like
wow,
it reached this level.
That's brutal,
like, that's
dude.
Kind of like what ArenaNet memes are. I mean, I'm not wrong about that. Like they're very dated in that sense.
Well, at least they're good at writing stories.
It just shows you the development cycle. Like, yeah, like they come out with like their like their Game of Thrones ripoff Icebreed Saga trailer, like when Game of Thrones was already like winding down. So it's like, oh, I get it. Like they came up with this idea when Game of Thrones was like popping off at like 3 years ago. And it just shows you how long the development cycle is.
It takes a long time to write quality story content.
Yeah, we're not going there today, by the way.
Okay,
Additionally, you know what? Bonus meme.
I want to say something. For
Oh,
the turtle.
yes. Yeah, welcome back, Zach.
Hello. Do you think they actually do something with the walking on the sea ground mechanic, or do you think that's just more like role play, or is there any use for that mechanic to exist in the game?
I think it's just there so underwater combat works, right? I guess to make like underwater combat a bit more practical. And I mean, I think it just does something different to the skimmer, right? Like, you know, because the skimmer can dive around. I think this is just like, oh yeah, you can walk along the bottom. Bit of role play
but that's
there.
just worse, right?
Maybe.
But you don't
Well, you can
get the
boost.
skimmer.
You can still boost around, right? Like with the boosters underwater, you have good mobility.
Yeah, I mean, they probably do. I don't know what they would do with it, but
They can
you
be a
don't
race.
get the skim. Like if you only have EOD, you don't get the skimmer, right? You only get the raptor and the springer, and then the turtle.
Yeah.
So you can't even go over the water. You automatically go underground.
Yes.
So there's got to be some use for that, right?
I mean, I think it might be a bit of an RP element, just to have something a little bit different. So you have this kind of like very cool cinematic thing of the turtles firing shots, right, up towards a giant crab or something like that. There could be like an underwater
we have
race.
the skiff. I forgot about that.
Yeah, you have the skiff. So
I
you can go
forgot
on the
about the
water with
skiff and fishing altogether.
that. Yeah. ArenaNet's marketing is
Honestly,
going well.
Yeah, I completely forgot that those were features.
Well, we still haven't like revealed the secret mount, the Juggernaut that's coming. I'm a Juggernaut truther.
What's a Juggernaut?
It's the Kurzik warsuit from Guild Wars 1.
It's the equivalent.
The shitty ass Luxtons had their siege turtles, and the Kurziks had fucking badass Juggernauts that are basically like alpha siege golems, but better.
Oh, it's like a
green.
big plant thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that looks cool.
It's gonna be the hidden mount, and it's gonna scale walls vertically. That's my prediction. Like people put up walls thinking you're gonna like stop the siege going, like oh they'll never get through these walls, but the Kurzik Juggernauts are gonna just like climb right over those walls.
That sounds fun for World vs. World.
Yeah, put that in World v World.
Give them the hacks.
Oh man, dear, oh dear, oh dear. Okay, so we might as well just kind of clean up. Like a lot of the other elites didn't really get changed that much. Vindicator got bug fixes basically. It just got tidied up a little bit. Nothing really changed with it actually. They normalized the dodges so it isn't like mega obnoxious. It will probably still underperform heavily in PvE and be pretty okay in PvP, I think, and in World vs. World as well. There you go.
That was the best one, in my opinion, Vindicator.
Wait, really?
Yeah, because the way that the legend toggles work, you use the
oh yeah, they did. They fixed that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
flip it. Yeah,
yeah, they made it way better now. Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you use a skill, it doesn't just randomly flip over to the thing that you don't want to use that you have to use to get it to switch back again.
You never have to see Saint Victor if you don't want to.
Yeah,
no one does. So.
I only want to see the orange buttons. I don't care about the blue buttons.
Yeah, that will certainly make it a lot. There's a lot more usability there for sure. Like they massively improved it. They also made some of those abilities a bit better. Specifically, they reduced the cooldown a lot. The energy cost is still pretty high. And I think you were quite energy starved playing Vindicator previously too. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. Particularly now that you actually aren't going to be able to fill as much with dodges because your dodge cooldown is going to be, well, I guess it's going to be higher because a lot of the time in PvP you took the healing dodge because it was the 50 endurance dodge, so you could dodge a lot. Now we're only having one dodge and it's double size endurance bar dodge. That is a serious downside. Not gonna lie, that's going to be an oof for PvP. But we'll have to see how it plays out. Again, like Herald and Renegade are both very strong right now. Vindicator will have to compete with those two things. But yeah, we will certainly have to see how it's going to play out. World vs. World would be nice. Great Sword's a fun weapon. You get big AoEs, big damage there on the Vindicator, so that will be fun. for sure. But yeah, good reworks there to vindicate it. I kind of forgot. I forgot about Legendary Alliance stance because everyone else did. Feels bad. But Spectre was actually very similar. They just like changed it a little bit. Like they
it was already good. People were already happy with it.
Yeah,
and they made it even better.
I'm actually somewhat concerned about Spectre not actually being that good anymore because they obliterated a lot of the damage on it. They annihilated it. So the way it did all its damage was by applying barrier with pistol 3 over and over again. They changed it from 3 targets to 1, right? Ouch. They just crushed it, which is interesting. It can still give alacrity, and it can still heal a good amount with all of its wells, but 5 target alacrity, kind of okay healing, and single target barrier and healing? Maybe? I'm not. I struggle a bit. And they also nerfed its they nerfed its meme a little bit too with the res build, like the hard carry like healer build, because now you can't just double tap to insta res and full heal everyone. You have to kind of stay in shroud for a lot of time, and your shroud abilities are not that good unless you're supporting your direct target, which I guess you'll want to do a little bit more of now. Support the tank in a raid, I guess. But I think they kind of nerfed Spectre pretty hard. Certainly from the support perspective. I think the design is a little bit better, but the shroud skills probably need a little bit of a look, and they might need to increase some target caps in some areas, because 1 target support is really hard to balance when everything else in the game is area of effect. But yeah, I don't know.
It's just gonna have an identity crisis for a year and a half, just like the other Thief specs have. Like Deadeye got reworked 3-4 times. Like it got reworked a ton. Chrono did. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I thought it was cool, but ultimately it's the skill clickers winning because it was too hard. So they just made it work. They made it worse. So now no one will play it.
What happened to ArenaNet saying that they like deliberately overbuffing something at the start and then bringing it down later?
Well, they did that. It was overbuffed.
Yeah, but it's not in the game yet. So, like, it was overbuffed for 1 beta weekend, or like, was it 4 days?
Well, I think they wanted it to not be able to do quickness and alacrity at the same time, which, well, apparently, according to a lot of the theory crafters, it still can. If you have really good, if you use the abilities really well, it can still do that if you play really well. But they wanted to make sure that it doesn't do quickness and alacrity. CMC even said that they would consider removing the quickness if it still overperforms in the amount of buffing it can bring to the table. And they would maybe look at, redesigning some of the skills. But yeah, it's interesting to see how it's going to perform. Yeah, like the dagger build still did a lot of damage too, compared to Scepter Pistol. So it's not all over for that. And I think the thing to look at is how it's going to play in PvP, because it obviously players were playing it a lot, right, in the final beta, but people actually didn't really play it as a support. It was more, it was an interesting build. Like, I mean, Syndrome basically just played it as like a glass cannon, right? He played like a full DPS. Yeah, he was like farming people with like a full DPS build, which I think, having a Spectre have a full DPS build is, be viable, I think is good, right? It's good to have some different play styles there as well. And add a bit of support kind of tacked onto it. And maybe that's the vision for the spec, but I kind of had the feeling that ArenaNet wanted to lean more towards the support, right? Like a support that supports by doing damage rather than like a damage dealer that has like a little bit of support tacked onto it, if that makes any sense. So it'll be curious to see if they actually change some of the interactions there, like maybe give it a little bit more support, a bit more potential to do that, and certainly making it worth to actually specialize for that. Maybe other trait lines could be looked at too to facilitate it, because Thief does struggle a little bit with having another trait line that also does stuff. It's why Spectre had to be really stacked and have loads of really good weapon skills, add the shroud skills and then add the wells in that also have really good support. They had to really overload the Spectre kit because there just wouldn't be any support for the support build to exist on Thief unless they did that. So I don't know. I think Spectre is definitely good. Like, I did speak with Cinder a little bit about this. He said it's good. He would play it over Daredevil right now. In the PvP, even in the current meta, by the way, it's like it's the one elite spec that can, one of the few elite specs that can kind of break through what we currently have in the game, and he would consider it worth playing over what you currently play. Could be a playstyle, could be an opinion thing, of course, but. It's Spectre is a very, very spicy spec. I think that's the one that has turned the most heads and was performing very, very well in a lot of game modes. 73k DPS, I believe, with the Scepter pistol build. Pretty good.
Not
pretty
enough.
Good. Not enough. You think it should be 100k?
It should be 100k.
Yeah. Oh dear. Nike, do you want to tell us about Blade Sworn?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see what it'll actually do this patch. Because previously, if you guys aren't familiar, the playstyle was spam your ammo skills on your weapons and whatever utilities you had as fast as possible. Because when you ran out of ammo on a skill, it lowered the cooldown of all your skills by like a couple seconds. So what this allowed you to do was you would Dragon Slash, or your slow-ass channel of Dragon Slash, spam a bunch of ammo skills, and Dragon Slash would instantly come off cooldown, and you could go back into Dragon Slash. And essentially, you never auto-attacked. I don't think you would auto-attack ever with it, because you had enough ammo skills in your weapons and your utility skills that you could just Dragon Slash 2-3-4 Dragon Slash, 2-3-4 Dragon Slash, that sort of thing. Well, what's going to happen now is when you use the first ammo of an ammo skill, it lowers the cooldowns of things, but that trait itself has an internal cooldown. So you're not going to be able to just blast all your ammo skills and instantly get Dragon Slash off cooldown. So there's a pretty good chance that you'll have to like use one of each of your ammo skills just to keep that, like, just to make sure that you're proccing the cooldown trait on cooldown, on its internal cooldown. But you're going to fill in a little bit with auto attacks. And then the Dragon Slash itself will channel faster, and like your rate of everything is going to be faster. So there won't be like 3 seconds of you standing around doing literally nothing while you're charging it up. It'll be like 1.5 seconds. And then of course it's going to do like 300k damage instead of, 700k damage, which is fine. I think there is a world where I could see it actually doing higher sustained DPS than what we saw in the first beta with it. Just because you're going to be Dragon Slashing twice as often and less time spent doing nothing. So I think there is a chance that you'll be doing a lot like higher sustained, but less of the burst will be like way less noticeable. The other side of the coin is that potentially your Dragon Slash is going to be on cooldown a lot more than it was before, and you're going to be sitting there auto attacking, which is probably worse and in terms of sustained DPS, and also probably fun, I would say. So we'll see how it turns out to be, but I kind of enjoyed the play style of spamming your ammo skills. It was fast, a lot of button pushes.
Oh, I hated it.
And then like I think you could have a world where the Dragon Slash does less, but you still get the faster paced play style. I don't know. I think adding auto attacks in to any rotation makes them less fun. But that's also like kind of something that Peepos like, is they like auto attack. Like how often have we seen like Reddit threads that are like, which class has the DPS rotation that uses the most auto attacks so I can play it easy? Like people ask that. So
that's why Axe Warrior is so good, because you get to like weave auto attacks in. Like that's why it's fun to play. Like that's why it's cool.
So I don't know. We'll see. It could go either way. I don't think anyone could spreadsheet it at the moment. I think you have to play. We'll have to play it to see.
Yeah, Yeah, it's going to be very different the way you're going to play it. You're absolutely right with the rotation stuff, and yeah, you can use the lowering the charge time. I think it's going to make it more fun to play. Like even if you do end up having to kind of fill some time, a little bit more, I think it will be more fun. Like I think charging up like 5 seconds, that's never that much fun, And in some encounters,
and it also felt really bad when your flow ran out and you got to like almost the end of the bar. And you got like cucked because like you get to like 99% of a Dragon Slash and you're just like, and your batteries run out and you're just like, well, time to reset the golem, go back to square one. But yeah, that will happen a lot less because it'll take way less flow to fill up the Dragon Slash. So I don't think you'll ever have that problem again, which is a good thing, I think.
It's definitely a benchmarker build, right? I think a lot of people are like benchmarks. They're going to enjoy. They're going to be big enjoyers, right? Big enjoyers of Bladesworn, that's for sure.
Yeah. And of course, the biggest problem of Bladesworn still remains, and you know exactly what that is.
What? Oh, that you can't reskin the Gunsaber?
The fact that you can't reskin the Gunsaber, and it's a brown turd that you swing at people. It's a rusty sword that you swing at people. Like in a game that's all about like over the top visuals, this Elite Spec forces players to use a rusty like sword as the Elite Spec. I mean, come on.
CMC didn't really comment on that, so I can't really give any hope that maybe they'll look at it. But I can guarantee you that they'll be maybe looking at something with the golem, because I think not being able to customize the golem is probably that's gonna trigger people on Mechanist a lot, right? People want to customize it for sure. So maybe. Okay. If they did it, Gunsaber skins, but it was only on the gem store, does that actually fly? Could ArenaNet get away with it?
I don't think you'd expect it anywhere else than in the gem store, would you?
If they're like collections or something to unlock. Like
what it should be is whichever GM trait you pick changes the visual appearance of your Gunsaber.
Yeah, I was actually going to say
that way you at least have 3 choices. And then if you give me 3 choices and they're all like decent, then you can sell me like the Heart Princess one on the gem store.
I actually really I like that one. Yeah. So the GM traits would make it a bit flashier then, and have like some kind of different.
Especially since the GM traits are like actually useless in PvE. Like it legit doesn't matter which one you pick because they do nothing. Like for PvE, so they could be a pure. Imagine that a GM trait that's nothing but a visual change. That's like so. That's like That's so funny.
Should do that with the golem, and they should make one of the traits give it the old Guild Wars 1 colored jade.
Yeah. I like that. That's good.
Know how many people would have to take that trait? They would have no other option but to play with that trait.
I mean, don't you think that some of the traits are actually usable though? I mean, like the one that gives you the stun, you can use it to break bars and stuff. The one that gives you lifesteal makes you a god, right? In PvE.
I will never use my Dragon Slash to break a break bar.
But, oh my god!
First, because CC is totally.
Oh,
I'm there for big dick damage.
No,
I'm charging that dragon charge up while everyone else is CCing. So the second that break bar breaks, I unleash, and I get that nice exposed buff. CC, that's peasant work. As a Bladesworn main, I will never CC.
We have the special action key anyway now.
Yeah.
You think in the new strikes they're gonna put the special action key? Because
I hope so.
No, but like it's gonna be impossible at this point to not have it.
You know what? I hope they give me a Fleshworm special action key too, that every class can have, so I don't have to take it on Whisper of Tormag. You can just put it in the hitbox and block the AoEs.
And sell special action keys on the gem store.
Oh my god. The only reason Zack is here is gathering like new memes for his songs, guys. Okay, like new lyrics are emerging on every single TeaTime, guys. Yeah.
I need more material because we wrote the Bladesworn song like 2 days before the balance changes, and now we have to rewrite the entire thing.
Nice. There you go. CMC trolled you. Feels good, man. Bladesworn in PvP actually performed surprisingly well, funnily enough. It was found to be a very strong duelist, actually. But that was mostly because of Lush Forest. Because of that trait kind of being a little bit dead now. I think Bladesworn...
I still think you take it.
Yeah, you probably do, but I do think
It's just
that
not busto
makes it
in that
significantly
your skills
worse,
are on
like-
cooldown. Your skills stay on cooldown when you use them.
Yeah, and the stun duration is down on the stun trait in GM as well, because obviously that would be crazy, right? If it wasn't, because you charge twice as fast now. So, yeah, I think Blades One takes a bit of a knock in PvP for sure, as well. Which I don't know, it will get tested, of course, once again. But I don't really see much potential for Blades One right now in PvP. Certainly not in the current meta. Because it doesn't do the silly damage, right? Like, they CMC saved us from the 50k crits in PvP. That would be very fun to play against, I'm sure. So I think Blades One's going to need to find its niche in PvP currently. Although Warrior in general is kind of suffering. The current build that you'll see play is Spellbreaker, and it's a good build. It can 1v1 things pretty well, but well, turns out you just get deleted by Thief, and I think Blades One might even be a bit more susceptible to that in some ways. It's got some nice mobility with the dash. It can use like the dash Dragon Slash, and the stun is pretty good. But I think overall it's going to struggle a little bit currently. In World vs. World, it's not Spellbreaker, so don't play it. Yeah, that's all I've got to say about that. Unlucky. Unlucky. Now, we arrive at the final Elite Specialization. I think so, right? Yeah, we did all of them, except Mechanist.
What's left? Mechanist?
Mechanist. That's right. Mechanist Gaming.
I'll be honest, I didn't pay any attention to Mechanist.
Wow. Any particular
I couldn't
reason?
Imagine a spec I would like to play less than Mechanist. If I was designing specs like that I didn't want to play, that would be like Untamed would be up there, but Mechanist would be a close second.
Ooh.
Or even maybe even beating it. I hate pet classes. I hate people that play pet classes. I don't like minion mancer classes. I don't like pet classes. It's fucking garbage.
Wow.
Can you tell us why you don't like pet classes?
Yeah, because the pet carries people. The pet is doing the work. I hate that shit.
Well, the Mechanist is like the epitome of that. The mech is doing all the
exactly.
work.
That's why I'm like uber against the Mechanist. It's like you're playing remote. You're remote controlling a character who's remote controlling a pet that's doing all the work. That is fucking awful.
What if it was just
I understand there's people that like that. Great. Have fun. I'm sure you'll have a blast. But it's not me, and I don't care about it. Even if it was the best class in the game, I would never play it in PvE.
Wow.
Or any game mode.
Wow.
Yeah. I'd rather onion farm than play it.
In terms of balance, Mechanist didn't actually change those. The big thing they did was they juiced up all the signets. So that all the signets now affect the mech and have some other bonus effects too. Like, they changed...
Well, they changed its stats, yeah.
Yeah, they changed, they changed the stats. There's boon share now on the teleport one, like the shift signet, right? The condition damage one gives confusion now, and it gives you a flat condi damage modifier instead of just a small condi damage, right? They're just better, right? Like the signets are now better overall. The mech got nerfed a little bit. They want you to really invest in particular functions for the mech, so its base stats are down a fair bit across the board. The mech was certainly overperforming a bit in PvP. For sure. I'm not sure. I'm still very skeptical of the mech in PvP. I've got to say, like, I actually spoke with Zan about that. I'm doing my research, guys. I spoke with Zan a little bit about Mechanist, and he said it's workable. You can definitely make it work. He wasn't totally sure on if it was like really, really good or not, like particularly given the changes. I'm a little suspicious around it because I think you're going to get hamstrung a bit by AI. And this is something we actually forgot to mention a little bit about Untamed, but the really big thing with Untamed that also applies to Mechanist is there's now F6 and F7 for more pet control, so you can make the mech come to you. That is a really big deal, huge deal on Mechanist, that you can kind of control the mech a bit better now, because it would just kind of like do its own thing and like run around in circles before and just get stuck on terrain. Now you can say, hey, go attack that guy. go and come back to me, right? So you can regroup together. That's a huge change. That makes it way more playable in PvP, 100%. The other thing I'd like to see, I know it's going to be so many F keys, but they need to add F8 to the Mechanist, maybe even to Ranger, I guess, too, on like go here. So like a ground targeted go here, because the mech obviously has area abilities that you can make it use, like particularly if you're playing the support build, it can do like AoE healing, AoE barrier, AoE boons, all that kind of stuff. And I think it would be really nice if you could, hey, mech, go walk over to that player who's doing a mechanic and heal them, right? And use the AoE thing there. And same thing on Ranger. If you look at Untamed, Untamed has an AoE projectile destruction and chill field. It wouldn't be good if you could say, hey, listen, okay, go over there and block some projectiles. Like, go over there and like be annoying, right, to this player. I guess you can I guess you can kind of do that with Untamed because you can make the pet attack someone. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty good. Yeah, and you can rebind, guys. Yeah, you can rebind all these keys, so you don't have to press F6 and F7. But yeah, good usability.
Yeah, most players are just going to click them, so you don't even need to bind them at all. They're all right there.
Is that the next guide?
Going to be
skill click guide. I mean, Nike, is that what you're going to bring to the table?
and like the F8's going to be like right next to your endurance bar, so you might as well click that too to dodge. You're going to be right there. Perfect.
A tutorial on optimal keybinds, but really the most optimal keybind is to not use keybinds.
Holy shit.
Just a click.
Imagine that, dude. Like Guild Wars 2 keybind video, and it just says the biggest myth in Guild Wars 2 is that you should keybind your abilities. You should just skill click.
See, if they wanted you to use keybinds, they would just not have made icons. They wouldn't have made little square tiles. They would have just given you a list of things that said what the skill was, and then they would have just saved all of the UI space for the combat and the stuff. They want you. It's actually correct to skill click because they take the time to make art assets for all of the skills and the tooltips and to make the interface for it. So you're actually disrespecting ArenaNet if you use keybinds by not appreciating the art assets.
Wow. It's strong stuff. Strong stuff indeed. Now,
I also just found out the other day that the skill clicking meta is actually using your keybinds for your weapon skills, but clicking everything else.
Oh, yeah,
that makes total sense.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because five is just about the maximum your hand can go, right?
Yeah, you can still WSAD and hit 1 through 5.
Wait,
yeah.
WSAD?
Yeah, exactly.
What's going in the Mechanist song, Zach? Tell us about it.
Oh, there's a lot there. It's we're taking a liking to hybrid songs now.
Oh,
so the next few are going to be combined memes. So
bonus
look
memes.
Forward to that. Yeah, maybe some onions here and there.
Oh, oh my god, it's evolving. A hybrid build and a hybrid meme. Well, okay. I want to throw this one out there because I am actually a bit of a believer in support Mechanist. Right? I see it. I actually see it. Alacrity, you can do protection, you can do healing, you can do Condi Cleanse, you can do regen, you can do vigor, you can do fury. Whole bunch of stuff you can do. Am I wrong? Can anyone shut me down? Shut me down.
I don't know anything about the class, so I can't. Someone else will have to chime in.
I think it'll be fine. I think it'll probably work because they're determined to make everything work. And if it doesn't work, they'll just fix it and make it better. And then Nike's going to have to acknowledge it at some point.
Nope.
If the meta turns into 9 Mechanists and then you're the only person playing Bladesworn, what do you do?
Let them CC and then I hit the fucking Dragon Slash after the break bar pops.
What if they're out DPSing you, though?
Oh, then I just will not play instance content. You don't use banners with Bladesworn. It's not banner sworn.
No, that's true. I mean, you could do that. You could take banners.
You could, but it's...
Would it be if you had like 9 mechanists and the meta would probably be something like 8 mechanists and then 2 warriors, so there's enough banners to also affect the mechs and not just the players.
Oh shit.
That's how they're nerfing banners and spirits. Like they're
I wouldn't
introducing
be
so many
surprised if
AI
banners
classes.
are going 5-man in the balance patch that I.
You should make everything 5-man again. Nothing should be 10-man.
Yeah.
Can we? I feel like we haven't talked about this before.
Oh,
Can we talk about
really?
The
Really?
utility of 5-man versus 10-man.
Yeah.
Can we just spend a while talking about that? I feel like this is something that we really need to get into.
I'll tell you what. Let's do this. We can pretend we talked about it for like half an hour. I will then, in my next sentence, I'll say that was a great conversation about 10 target versus 5 target, and then everyone will just assume that they fell asleep during it, and they'll assume it actually happened. How about that?
Yeah, Jernard has to put in a cut.
And then
we have to have a fake cut.
Oh, yeah.
Make it look like a cut so that YouTube
yeah.
thinks we talked about it and be like, and then you can be like, wow, that was too hot for YouTube. We're gonna have to get that in the post.
Yeah. I like that. We can pretend that it got edited out. That's a big brain. That's a big brain thing there, actually. Nice. Yeah. Oh, dude, Bay's here with the real efficiency here. We can just go get like an old TeaTime, bring that here, and then boom, away you go. Like we can make that happen as well. Like we're looking good. Yeah,
it'll be like an old TeaTime where we all look different. Like I'll have like a big like Tom Selleck style mustache. Teapot will be bald. I'll be like, yeah, everything's totally the same.
So I think it's about time to wrap things up. I think we covered all the topics, right? We talked about turtles, talked about the specializations, talked about the bots, talked about some other random shit too for bonus memes. Do we want to, I just want to give some general thoughts on the beta and I suppose the development process of these elite specializations. I would certainly describe my opinion and my feeling of this as actually very positive. I think that all of the specializations have moved in a good direction, some more than others, right? And some definitely need considerably more work. But disregarding the state of the current meta and how these builds may end up fitting into the current state of the game, I think ArenaNet will certainly be relaxing a lot of people's fears that their elite specialization for their profession won't be, like unfun or bad. I think they've tackled the issues very well, and we still have probably at least another similar iterative patch before the expansion actually arrives, or rather during, while the expansion comes out. Because yeah, there are some things that are obviously not done yet. I think Virtuoso needs a little bit more of a look. Harbinger the same, probably Willbender too, I think. But a lot of them are really shaping up. So yeah, any final thoughts on that, or kind of broad overviews of what you see in ArenaNet's development process here?
ArenaNet is a new and changed company. I like how it's going. It's good.
I think for the health of the game and like balancing and stuff like that, it's very good the way they do it. But in terms of generating hype, it's like the complete opposite of what they should do. Because you only generate hype by having like mystery and not showing too much. If they just reveal like the theme of the spec, then there will be a lot more conversation. Oh, do you think that's going to be that? And a lot more discussion, I think, in a positive way, and a lot of expectations. But now it's just all out of the table, and there's not really a sense of hype or anything.
Yeah, their flaw is pretending that the story is good enough to want to not spoil. And so, like, if they just committed and said, like, hey, we're going to spoil this, like, you're not going to care about it anyways. Like, here's the game. Like, then that would be good. Like, we'd have something to work with.
So I think that I do agree that they're kind of dumb to care about the spoilers so much. I'm not like slagging on their story. I just think you only get one shot to hype up and launch your expansion. Like you don't get, if the expansion flops, like there's no do-over. If the expansion doesn't get any attention and it's like a blip on the radar, you don't get a do-over. So they really should think about the fact that whether or not it turns out that there's some shocking twist where the obvious bad guy becomes a strike boss, like is maintaining that story secret really worth the lack of like being able to promote your content? I really would. I don't know the right answer, but I would be very, very suspicious if thinking that story plot point is worth not showing off your end game content, because you're afraid of leaking it.
I feel like they're simultaneously showing too much and not enough at the same time. Because like gameplay wise and features wise, they show literally everything that's gonna be in the expansion. It's like very detailed, but story wise, like we don't even have a reason to go to Cantha yet. Like we have no idea what anything's about. So how are you gonna look forward to that?
Yeah, it's like they're like, here are the elite specs. Here's everything about them. Also, we're gonna take your feedback and change them how you want them to play. But we're not going to tell you anything else about fishing until the expansion launches. And it's like, okay, well, the stuff that people care, like no one cares about the story. Sorry, that's not true. There are going to be people in the YouTube comments lying and saying that they do care about the story, but they actually don't. So like, they're giving people the stuff that they want for free, and the stuff that people like probably don't care about, like they're just not showing us, and it's just like, hold on a second, let's do something. Let's try to find the in between.
Well, I don't know. I don't think I agree. I don't think I agree at all. Actually, with these takes, I think that what they're doing is very good. Because guys, imagine if they dropped
showing the strikes is good.
Imagine if they dropped Catalyst as it was in the first beta on the X-Pack.
Yeah, that's fine. We like that.
Yeah, this is fine. This is cool. It's just that, like, previewing a map, this may get me in trouble, okay? This actually may get me in trouble. Because if you'll remember, a while back, there was a stream where they were talking about sound design and how they made particular sounds. And that involved showing off blowing into milk cartons and like old African instruments like on the stream. And it's like people are watching it and people are confused and saying like, what the fuck is this? It's like, I appreciate that there's stuff that goes into sound design. I just don't want to come get hyped up and watch a stream about like the expansion that I'm about to buy and how cool the content's going to be by watching someone blow into a milk carton. Like, I'm not going to get pumped up about the Jade Sea by watching them zoom in on rock textures. That's not going to pump me up.
Well, do you not think this is, in a way, a little bit of a slight flaw with... A little bit of a flaw with Ender Dragons? Because I think Ender Dragons just doesn't have that giga selling point, right? It doesn't have that one feature that's really going to grab you. You know, like a new class, like Rev, play Rev. Well, you do though. Like we do. Like I think we know more or less everything's there. I think the one thing that I would definitely agree with you, they could like tease the villain, right? That's what they could do. They could like, oh yeah, who is it, right? Who's the villain? You know, that classic Wrath the Lich King trailer. You show the Lich King, right? Everyone's excited. Everyone's going crazy. It's amazing, right? You could do the same thing because right now, I think the thing that the nail on the head was hit by Zack. He was like, we have no reason to go to Cantha. True, okay, but here's the thing. Bear in mind the expansion is a while away. They haven't really been trying to build hype as such. They've been more like placating the community. And on Tuesday, or maybe the next coming weeks, we might actually be about to get our wish, because bear in mind the return achievements are over, and we're getting like the end conjecture this Tuesday. Which will be like a little bit of a meme that will tell us what's going on, I guess. And maybe they'll start actually doing some things in this direction, very, very shortly, actually, right? They might actually start hyping it a little bit closer to launch. Because I think right now they're not even trying to do that. That's not their goal. Their goal is to just show something that's interesting, a little bit of a tease to the players. I mean, if we think that's wrong, I think that's a fair criticism. I guess we could say that. But I don't think they're really trying to hype people up, or other, certainly not players external to the game, about the Jade Sea and stuff like that. They want to get people hyped like very close to launch and like maybe do like a cinematic trailer or something like that now, right?
I will see if they generate more hype.
Maybe there's just nothing there to hype.
Well, also, I mean, have we also considered that like a lot of the people here are actually like drained husks of human beings and just can't get excited about Guild Wars 2 anymore?
I would be excited about seeing the strike missions. That
would be cool.
I'm excited about the elite specs.
Okay,
like I'm generally. I'm looking forward to this beta.
Would you need to see the strike missions or just hear about them? Because they obviously don't want to leak them because of the spoilers. But if Cameron goes on stream and he says, yeah, there is a strike mission that is as hard as Doom CM, like, does that get you hyped?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be super good.
Yeah.
But again, that you do verge. You run the risk of doing what Brazil said and having like a thing where Cameron talks about like blowing into milk jugs to help design the strike boss, like where it's
it has
like,
a sound signature that we had to get extra. We had to think outside the box.
I think
for this one.
You verge onto like being too much of stuff that impresses other game devs, like that game devs care about, but like not something that players necessarily care about.
Well, I think we're talking about two different categories, right? We're talking about things that hype up the existing player base and things that might hype up the external player base. And in my opinion, the only way you can actually get people excited about in the external player base, you need some kind of like giga cinematic trailer, right? With like some kind of like really cool animated thing. Because honestly, anything that we would possibly talk about or that ArenaNet could say is going to mean absolutely nothing to anyone outside of the game, right? I guess you could say dungeons, right? Or like new dungeons strikes, right? Like new dungeons coming out, like new world bosses coming out, right? Yeah, cool, right? That's awesome, right? And you could do like a cool animated trailer, like gameplay trailer, like a giant crab going around all over the place, a giant onion boss smashing you with its like weird, like onion arms, or like a giant tentacle monster.
Ogre.
It's an ogre, yeah. Shrek is there, as well, like that kind of stuff. But
maybe put some booba in the trailer.
Yeah.
Well, so there's a problem with that too, because if they make a trailer like this really cool, epic cinematic trailer, what's going to happen is it's going to end up like Heart of Thorns, where we have a new competitive game mode, a new world versus world Borderland, and like challenging group content. And then when you go back and watch it, you say, "Oh yeah, all this stuff got deleted." So maybe they're just not going to make a trailer at all. Maybe there's no hype coming.
Why is it? Holy shit! I'm glad this is at the end. Okay, like not many people are going to make it to like the Doomer fucking portion.
Doomer. Yeah, it's not worth making a trailer because they're going to delete all of the content. Oh, shit.
Yeah, when they showed the Jade Sea being empty, they said that they deleted all the NPCs, but really that's just it. Okay, that's actually how it looks.
That's how it ships, boys.
Yeah.
Ship it out. The sea is even jade, so you can't take your skiffs in it. That's how pointless it is. That's the only map we're gonna get this expansion.
Oh man. Yeah, I just think drop a hype trailer when it's time. Like, show some cool gameplay, show an animated cutscene, like have a ominous voice line, like very traditional cliched stuff, and then away you go. But I think you can hype up the current players and tease people by talking about the elite specs a lot, showing the map a little bit. I don't like this in world bosses. I think showing content is good, but ArenaNet is ArenaNet, right? They'll never do that. And I think just having the information. I think the only reason people don't get hyped up maybe as much is because people have zero faith in ArenaNet. Like, I think that's got to be worth talking about, right? And considering, like, there is
at this point, that's the wrong stance to have. That's the wrong position to have.
Well, but it's the position that most people have. Like, most people do not believe. They do not believe whatsoever. And ArenaNet if they want to get people excited, I think the really thing they need to do is to actually build up that trust again. And I think we're maybe giving ArenaNet a bit of a hard time here, because I think we need to think about timescales here and think about other examples. I don't think it would be unfair to compare what Guild Wars 2 needs to do to what Final Fantasy has already done, right? I think most people would probably agree that, yeah, Guild Wars 2 is trying to do its Realm Reborn right now. The game is good as it stands right now, but it's had a fraught, difficult development cycle. So it's trying to, boom, like reboot itself with an expansion. But did you start hearing about Final Fantasy when Realm Reborn came out? No, of course not. Final Fantasy only actually became relevant, 5 years after Realm Reborn came out? There was like a negative energy around the game, right? There was no one fucking knew about this game. Like, dude, isn't that just like a weeaboo game where you just like play with cat girls? No, I'm gonna play World of Warcraft, the real game, right? But as they continued to release more content and more expansions and more development, then you had this rising tide of hype. And that's what pun intended, that's what the wave of Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons will hopefully kind of begin that. But it's not going to do it in one go. Like, Guild Wars 2 will not be that like massive, ultra hype game until, like, realistically, 1 or even 2 expansions after End of Dragons. End of Dragons is the thing that's going to prevent the game from like fizzling, right? That is the anti-fizzle thing, right? Then it's going to build from there. I don't think that going all in like right now is a particularly good idea in a way. I think there's so much bad energy around the game within the community that ArenaNet's first job before making the game really hype and really exciting is first getting rid of the negative energy in the community and winning the trust back of their player base. Because trust, I mean, look, just listen to the TeaTime now and look at the Twitch chat, right? And even look at the YouTube comments as well, right? Of any video in Guild Wars 2, right? The players who played the game, right? In other words, the players who aren't new players are always like, wow, this game's so cool, right? But players who have played the game for a long time and have seen its development cycle almost invariably, okay, do not believe in ArenaNet, right? They do not have confidence. And you're never going to be able to get people hyped, right? You're never going to get hyped if you don't have confidence that the company can actually deliver. So that's number one, and then you can build from there, right?
I would say that whatever comes after the expansion or like between expansions is way more important than the expansion itself, because we kind of know what to expect from expansions at this point, but everything in between can go 1,000 different ways, because they always struggle with the game's identity. And they have no idea what to do with the living story or any, like, look at all the endgame PvE content things like fractals, raids, strikes, DRMs. Like, they never know what to do between expansions. So I think the time after EOD is going to be way more important than EOD itself.
But haven't they actually stated this? Right? I'm devil's advocating a little bit, because I think that ArenaNet should absolutely be hitting these beats way harder again and again and again and again. But they said this, like, strike missions are going to be releasing with every episode of the living story after the expansion. World versus World.
Heard it before.
Well, I get it, right? But they have actually made strong statements on these topics that Zack is talking about, right? With their focus. They've said they're going to refocus on World vs. World with alliances and world restructuring. There's going to be a balanced team, dedicated resources on making sure that the game is looking good after the expansion. That's really good for PvP, right? I think they're missing like maybe one other like big systemic reform that they could drop on us. That would be really cool. Maybe we'll hear about something like that on December 3rd, because that's the next stream. It's going to be talking about legendaries and some gameplay overviews there as well. Copium. But do you see what I mean? No, this isn't copium, guys. They've said this, right? Like,
I mean, they have to follow through at some point.
Yeah.
No, they said they were going to fix legendary armor too.
This is what I mean, right? This is what I mean. I don't think hyping the game really hard for the veterans does anything right now, because anything that ArenaNet says, no one's going to fucking believe. Like, if you take what ArenaNet has said at face value for the expansion, it sounds like this is an entirely different company, and that the game is about to enter like some kind of like bizarre golden age. They appear to have finally sorted their shit out. So why is no one excited? Well, people aren't excited because people don't believe it.
Well, there's different groups of people.
So I believe that ArenaNet is totally capable of making the best video game ever right now. I think they could totally pull it off. I think they will pull it off. I think End of Dragons will release. I think it'll be amazing. And then, like, the thing that worries me is that there are only going to be 15 players that play strike missions, because, like, Marionettes died again. Like, people were like, oh, there should always be, like, a public Marionette. Oh, we really want that. And then, like, oh, shit, okay. Well, we'll go back and we'll see about that and we'll test it. And now there's a public Marionette and no one plays it. And there was, like, a Reddit thread the other day complaining about how no one plays the public Marionette. And everyone was like, yeah, no one was going to do it anyways. And so that's what I'm afraid will happen. I think that ArenaNet is going to go hard on strikes and doing everything, and maybe the story is even good. I'll even give them that much. Actually, I'll say this: the story will be good and it will be great, and everyone's going to love it. And then people are going to get bored and stop, and then they're going to say, oh shit, at the first sign of something going wrong, oh fuck, we have to abandon strike missions. We have to put all of our effort over here. We have to do something new this time. And that's the thing that, like, they always seem to fuck up on. It's like something doesn't stick the first time, and then they're just like, oh, get rid of it. It didn't work. We have to try something new. That's what really worries me. I think that they're going to do a great job with the expansion. I love how transparent they're being. I think that the direction of everything for the past maybe even year indicates that End of Dragons on release is going to be incredible. But after it releases and after it's incredible for like 3 months, I think we're just going to be back to business as usual. That's where I'm at. That's really what scares me.
Ooh.
I think that like the NALFG is going to continue to be dead. I'm really worried about what's going to happen. I think that's going to be the case. It really worries me because I want to play Guild Wars 2 and I think it's going to be cool. I think it's got potential. But I think we're just going to wind up here again. That doesn't mean don't enjoy the game. Enjoy it. Maybe it's the best 3 months of gaming of your whole entire life. But I think we're going to be back here again.
Well, I mean, would your... Okay, I can see the future. My prediction has changed. I have determined what's going to happen, and ArenaNet will actually follow through with everything they said they're going to follow through with. Does that change your opinion?
Yeah, because there's still a future after what future you saw. The future, there's not an end point in time.
Well, okay, they do it forever. They do it indefinitely.
Then yeah, everything's good.
Boom. So all they have to do is just basically be perfect.
Yeah, you're right.
Easy. Easy game.
Don't reshuffle your systems again.
Yeah. I think they actually settle on something. It's going to be good. Right? And then we have the player injection we're going to get with the expansion and with the Steam release. I don't know. Like,
the Steam release is going to be low-key as
bigger.
big, if not bigger, than the expansion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is going to be very juicy when they come around to getting that, right? Like, for sure.
The amount of frogs that will be picking up the game is going to be very high.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is just my take on this. I don't think anyone will get hyped until ArenaNet actually show us like what they're made of, right? The proof is in the pudding, right? If they deliver on this, then people can start to get hyped about the game and start really getting excited, and the energy about the game is going to rise. But as of right now, I don't think there will be a crazy hype train until after the expansion. And I think ArenaNet know that. I think they're not stupid. Grouch certainly isn't. Grouch has actually said similar things to this in my Twitch chat. He said that, yeah, we know that players, we need to build player trust up again, right? That's, kind of how I formulate my opinions is trying to figure out what's going on under the hood at ArenaNet to an extent. And I think that they're very aware that no matter what they do, they aren't going to be able to get this like a giga hype train from within the community. Unless they actually deliver. I imagine there's a similar thing going on in World of Warcraft right now, because WoW has had like 2 really shitty expansions. Like Battle for Azeroth didn't go down super well.
And company drama.
Well, yeah, that too. Shadowlands also not going super well currently. I imagine, yeah, the level of hype and excitement for the next World of Warcraft expansion is going to be significantly lower. I think it doesn't help that End of Dragons doesn't have like a mega feature. If they were adding a new class, right? So, new profession, Siege Turtle, right? So instead of a new mount, you are a Siege Turtle, right? You just like load in new race 2. It's like a combo. New race and profession, Turtle, Siege Warrior. Then that will be a lot more exciting, I think. Honestly, even new race. Look, oh, man, this actually wounds me so much. But I a man of facts. I like the truth, my friends. And if there was actually a new race coming out, I think people would actually be really excited about the expansion, 100%. If Tengu were actually playable race, people will be fucking hyped, right? And for that reason, I think if they could do it... Oh, yeah?
Okay, so there's 3 types of players that ArenaNet is looking to get.
Okay.
You have the players like us that have never left the game and have been, or we've taken breaks, whatever, we're lifers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want an expansion that pleases them. Then the second group is people that have tried Guild Wars 2 in the past. Maybe they played it in 2012 and and they're like, "Oh, there's an expansion. I'll give it. I'm not playing WoW anymore. I might as well give it a chance." And so they come back for End of Dragons, and then you have the player that's never played the franchise at all, and so you have these three groups of players, and I do think that each group has different things that excite them or would potentially excite them. Like, obviously, Elite Specs is something that lifers probably really, really like players like us. We care the most about Elite Specs, and we probably care the least about fishing. But fishing or Elite Specs, to a guy who quit in 2012, how exciting is our new Elite Specs? Because he has 27 Elite Specs waiting for him, not just the 9. So maybe a new playable race is the more exciting thing to that person. And then you have the person who's never picked up the franchise before, doesn't know what an Elite Spec is, doesn't even know why he would care about a new race when he hasn't played any of the other 4 non-human races either. So I think they do have to market and they do have to have features that appeal to these different groups of players. And I think it is important for us to not look at it through our lens of existing lifer players and think about what will appeal. Like all of us have we meme on fishing a little bit, but for all I know, that's something that has focus grouped really highly with a certain group of non-player. That's my thought.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good point. And I think, do you not think that that's kind of what End of Dragons is lacking though, right? I think it lacks the feature that attracts the the Siege Turtle, maybe, right?
I think
fishing.
I think the Siege Turtle did what website was it? Was this is the best mount in MMO history.
Is a PC game?
That maybe wasn't the. I mean, obviously it's just one little blip on the radar, but that is definitely something that if people on the r/MMO, those cynical bastards, if they saw that, they might be like, whoa, that is the best mount in an MMO. That could be the feature that gets those kind of people to try it.
Yeah. I mean, there's still more to reveal. I mean, I think it is worth noting that we are, as Brazil mentioned earlier, we're getting kind of an unprecedented amount of transparency from ArenaNet in their development process. So maybe they've still got a few more tricks up their sleeves. Hey, maybe the legendaries are going to be really exciting. I'm really worried about that stream. Well, how do you guys think it's going to go?
They might as well just turn chat off. Disable chat.
Okay, chat. I'm going to ask the chat. Chat, how do you guys think it's going to go? Right, chat. Is it going to be utter clown fiesta or actually pretty good? Right, let's see what the chat says. But I don't know.
I mean, did you see the screenshot of the amulet we're getting on Tuesday?
What?
Yes, it's solid, don't you think?
What do you mean? Is it?
I mean, it's good if you have a Pride Parade character roleplay going on.
Well, I mean, it's just the new legendaries, right?
What do you mean that there's a screenshot of it? Does it have an effect?
They showed the effect. Yeah.
Where? Can someone link it?
Someone in chat will link it.
Someone in chat, I need you to link it.
It's very Kappa Pride. It's like a rainbow coming out of your back.
Okay, what if they drop the news that there will be multiple sets coming out within End of Dragons during that expansion?
No, that would hype me up.
There's multiple what?
Multiple, so this is what people don't like, and I think this is honestly maybe a communication fuck up from ArenaNet. We don't know this, but it could be. So they're releasing legendary weapons Generation 3, but instead of each one being different and having its own kind of style and theme, Ipos, the Snake Scepter, they're all the same theme. They all look like Aurene, basically. You've chipped off a piece of Aurene and made it into a weapon. That's basically what's happened with the Gen 3s. Right? And people are obviously upset about this because it's it's kind of like releasing one weapon, right? But, copied instead of loads of different ones. Okay. Now, I think the reason they're doing this is because making individual ones is a real pain in the ass. It took them 4 years to finish the Gen 2. Not a joke, by the way. Look it up. But So what if they're planning on releasing multiple sets within the expansion? What if they could do one set every 3 months even? That might be a little ambitious. It may be more like every 6 months or every 4 months, more than that. But
why?
Well, because then you can get your different style, but you also get a weapon for everyone at the same time. This is to be the advantage of this approach, is that they can release a legendary weapon no matter what build you play, because you can always use it, and they get to release potentially more of these over time, right? So you get Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5 much quicker. And I would really like some clarification on how often they would release this. Well, we'll find out this Friday, of course. But yeah, that would be huge. I think that would be a big hype point because a lot of players really like legendary weapons. It was something that people were always really excited for, right? When a new Living Story episode was coming out. Like, oh, new legendary. Oh, Shining Blade. Wow, it's so cool.
Wait. So you're saying they released a set. I'm trying to hang on here. They released a set of Aurene themed weapons, right? A full set of legendary weapons.
Okay.
And then you're saying they release another full set of legendary weapons?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a little hopium.
So wait, like a Zoja, no, like a Zoja themed set, and the shield is this giant belly. I'm down with this, and like a Bram set too. We need a Bram and Timey set.
I think you're way reading too much into their statement.
I don't see
I'm
the
talking
point
about
in
Teapot.
that. I know, but I'm just saying I don't see the point in that system.
There's just I don't see any reason to believe besides hope that there's going to be multiple sets per expansion. I just don't see it.
Well,
they've not said that. They've not hinted.
Well, that's what they could say though. They could say it.
They could also say, "Psych, there's going to be Raid Wing 8 with the X-Pack." They could say a whole bunch of things, and I think that, and maybe this is a bit of a flame, but I think that these Aurene legendaries are low effort enough that they could very easily make another set in Living Story Episode 2 of After the X-Pack. There could be another set because they're definitely low enough energy to be Gem Store tier.
We haven't seen them yet, have we?
I've seen screenshots
of the Aurene weapons.
Yes.
Then we saw the sword. There was a small video of the sword kind of spinning around as well.
Oh my! I've missed all of this. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh no, I think it would be cool if they did that, and I think they are in a. We don't know, and hopefully that gets clarified later on. But what I'm saying is, I think ArenaNet might have a few kind of ace in the hole, right? Tricks up the sleeve.
Yeah,
they might be able to drop. Yeah, the Juggernaut. Yeah. Wing 8 secretly announced at the same time. And they're, adding and best of all, guys, this is what's really going to get people going, guys. Oh, yes. A new world versus world Borderland, okay? But it's 3-dimensional. It's like Tangled Depths, but world versus world. That could actually be kind of cool, to be honest. But
it might play mole gameplay where you tunnel under people's walls and come up behind.
That'd be so sick. Imagine if there was a new siege vehicle where you could actually tunnel through the ground.
Dredge gameplay.
Yes, Dredge gameplay, dude. Okay, Dredge gaming. If ArenaNet announced Wing 8, I will 100% refund my pre-order. Fuck raids.
You should do that.
It was Cardi's trolling.
Yeah,
okay,
I know.
Yeah. But yeah, there it is. Raids are indeed toxic. I don't even know how I got to this topic. I've distracted myself. What were we talking about?
We were talking about how we were going to have an edit where we talked about a fake edit, or we talked about 5 and 10 man boon splits, and then we talked about Siege Turtle somehow, and then we wound up here.
Yeah, we were wrapping up with our hopes.
Yeah. I guess I just I wanted to wrap up with okay, we'll finish on this because this is a good place to stop. So do you guys feel positive? I'm just gonna do one by one as well to make sure we don't get completely distracted again. Do you guys feel good about the Elite Specializations and the Siege Turtle coming into the expansion based off the iteration that we have seen in these notes and the next beta? Let's go. Nike first.
Yes, I'm happy with the Elite Specs. I think that they will launch all of them in a place where the players of the mains of those classes will be happy with what they get, unless you're a psycho.
Boom! Hell yeah. Zach!
And the turtle, hold on.
Oh, yep, go ahead.
The turtle I don't care about.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's cool, I guess, but the fact is that you need someone with you to shoot it, right? Like to shoot the guns. Like you can't drive and bust caps at the same time, right? So
you can smash people.
I don't like that. I don't want a co-pilot with my turtle.
Okay. You could adopt a noob though. Adopt a noob.
Only if the noob plays Spectre and is my pocket single target healer.
Ooh, for your blade
fuel
right?
slot.
And he can give you quickness too, right?
Yeah,
single
while I'm
quickness.
charging my Dragon Slash, they're behind me like
stacking might
barrier and
quickness
quickness and alacrity on me.
Ooh,
hell yeah.
There you go. Okay. Next up, it's Zach. Give us your take.
Ooh, sell a bot that has that. That company should come back to Guild Wars 2 with a bot or Pocket
Spectre.
Spectre, yeah, and like,
and it can drive the turtle for you, and you can fire the guns.
Remember when the whole rumor was that there was going to be henchmen? This is it. That is the henchman. It's going to be, you get a Spectre little guy that follows you around and does Spectre skills on you. Perfect.
Okay, now Zach for real.
Yeah, I don't really care about the turtle either. I mean, it looks cool. It's gonna be fun, but yeah, it's whatever. In terms of specs, I only play PvE anyway, and my sole enjoyment of a class is the order and the feeling of how I press the buttons in the DPS rotation that SC dictates for me. I don't care about the theme. I don't care about the animations. I don't care what the spec does. If it feels good at the golem, I'm gonna play it. Like nothing else matters, and I don't give a shit. So I'm gonna enjoy it.
That is a true raider perspective right there, actually. That is some fucking like pure raid game. That is Giga Chad, actually. Okay, Brazil. How do you feel? Tell us your thoughts.
I'm very optimistic and positive about the game going forward, up to in 3 months through the launch of Into Dragons. And I think the Siege Turtle looks really cool. I think it's going to be fun to play and to zoom around on, and it's going to be gimmicky, and I still don't have the sky scale, so I have more reason to use Turtle, I guess. But the Elite specs, I think for the most part, look cool. I really just want to play Harbinger and AFK and just pulse AoEs, and I want to theme my AoEs with my Grandmaster trait. I just wanted to, that's how I want to play the game.
Okay. Oh well, there you go. I think everyone already knows my thoughts already. I talk too much. So I think that will be a good place to just about wrap things up with this tea time. Yeah, I said I was going to do a short tea time yesterday actually, but hey. Look, that final segment, when it got a little bit more heated, right? A bit more debate than I was expecting. So here we are at the 3-hour mark. But thank you very much for joining. A big warm welcome, of course, to new Tea Time cast member, Zach. Always a little scary, okay, to come on for the first time. Everyone's yelling, everyone's flaming each other, everyone's borderline trolling simultaneously, so you can't tell. But thank you for coming on. Really appreciate that. And of course, we'll be hearing a lot
Thanks
more
for having me.
From Zach shortly. In fact, tell us about that. What's going on with you, man? Okay, what's up?
Yeah, so I'm part of the band Beyond Repair. We make Guild Wars 2 related content, pop punk content to be precise, on the YouTubes. It's fun, I guess. It's good music. I like it. You should check it out. And I used to make remixes and very edgy shit on my other YouTube channel, but it's kind of fiddled out over the past few years. But you can go back and watch Guild Wars 2 lore in remix form. Yeah, and there's going to be some more stuff coming up shortly.
Yeah. Definitely go and check out the ones on Bic. Okay, you can see a legendary video of Bic in the shower. That's a particularly spicy one. Okay, there it is. Be sure to watch all that stuff, guys. Get ready for some musical entertainment from Beyond Repair and Zach. Okay, next up, it's Brazil. You've taken back to streaming, I believe, recently. When can we expect more stream content?
Probably Monday.
Ooh.
So yeah, well, I mean, I guess I have more free time now, given the circumstances that have occurred this week. But yeah, we'll see. Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, UWV_Preston. Underworldvideo.com will get you to everything that I do, everywhere I do it. Yeah, but we'll do some streaming of the Guild Wars 2. The beta is this coming Tuesday, right?
Yup.
Yeah, we're gonna have some Harbinger gameplay in all game modes except PvP, because PvP sucks and it doesn't count. Harbinger gameplay in the only 2 game modes that matter.
Okay, there it is. That is quite the condemnation of PvP there, you know? No more bots, but also no more Brazil. Listen, boys, stop saying true, okay? Look, you're not allowed to say that. Okay, and here we have it. The only person who will pump harder than Zack, because he refuses to do any mechanics except DPS on Blade Swan. It's Nike.
Yep. Yeah, I don't want to do any mechanics. When I retired from raiding with DNTs, when I stopped doing mechanics, that was when I was a helpful contributor to the team. Now that doesn't happen. I contribute DPS and that's it. But anyway, you can watch me on YouTube. I make videos that are sometimes of community interest, sometimes a little bit memey, but you never know what you're going to get till you watch it. It could be real. It could be a joke. You never know. You just have to click on it and find out. And then even then, you might not be able to get it if you're not in on the joke. But yeah, and I stream Zwift, which is a competitive online cycling game.
Boom.
You should watch those races too if you want to see me get wet and messy with sweat.
Yeah. Woof. Woof.
Yeah, dripping.
So get ready for all of that fresh content to come in there. You know, you better be waiting with bated breath, okay, for the next Nike guide. Will it help you or will it make you laugh? We don't know, guys. We'll find out then. And then it is all left down to me here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed this tea time. I really appreciate everyone sticking around here. You know, it's a little bit of an uncertain time for Guild Wars 2, but we hope that we've entertained you a little bit there as well. Massive shout out to my guests for hopping on board here as well. Okay, and Zack for joining us for the first time. If you like the tea time, I've got loads of tea times on YouTube. It's like well over 100 now, I think. There's actually a crazy amount of tea times. You can go watch them all. You know, I think what's really cool, you could do like you could see the tea time zeitgeist evolve, right? You can like how similar is what we're saying now to like 2 years ago, and then like another year before that. I think it would actually change a fair bit. There was definitely like the doom phase, right? Okay, then there's the optimism phase, the copium phase. Then there was the phase where it was so fucking doomy that there were no tea times whatsoever. That was a dark time, guys. Believe me, that was tough. But anyway, make sure you follow the stream. Subscribe to the stream if you really like me. Subscribe on YouTube there as well. Follow all of my social media. There you go. Like exclamation mark socials in the chat. Exclamation mark hosts in the chat, guys, for all of those. Look at that command, okay? It's got Zack, it's got Nike, it's got Brazil. Click on all their links. It's below the stream, below the video. Go check that stuff out. I stream all the time. I'm streaming right now, and I stream every day as well, except Wednesday, because I don't like Wednesdays. Wednesday is lame, right? Other people can have that day, but that is just about it from us. I will continue streaming because I'm addicted and I have no life. So stick around for that in just a moment. There's going to be a brief break while we sort a few things out here. But yes, that is going to be the end of that. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful evening. And we will see you next time on Tea Time. And of course, in our respective internet corners. See you guys later.
In the mists.
In the mists.